Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Enjoy the fanfic, and let's begin part 1. Naruto was resting in bed at the house of Tsunami. He had just helped to liberate the country of Wave and was exhausted not only physically, but also emotionally from the efforts to do so. Apparently Sasuke was okay, just exhausted and recovering from the false state of death that had been put on him. Sakura was watching over him and trying her best to nurse him back to health. And Kakashi was resting up as well, no doubt reading his. Naruto had a problem. He was bored. Very bored. With nothing to alleviate the boredom. Naruto got up and checked his ninja bag for anything that might be of worth. Maybe he could practice kunai balancing or something else that was just so utterly mind-numbing that it would waste his time in large amounts and still allow him to do something useful. Anything was better than staring at the ceiling with nothing to do. Naruto saw something that caught his eye in his ninja bag. Reaching in and grabbing it, Naruto pulled out a book. He didn't carry books around with him, so finding the book immediately put him on guard. It couldn't have been more than 100 pages long, making it the size of a small novel. The book didn't have a cover, a title, a blurb, or anything else that might denote whatever it was for. As this Kakashi's, Naruto thought to himself. The porn that he carried around with him usually had at least a cover page. Realizing that it couldn't hurt to check what the book was, Naruto cracked it open to the front page. It read thusly: Welcome to Naruto, the game. By opening this book, you are accepting the terms and conditions of the contract stating that we have free reign over your personal and subjective reality to make it into the way that the contract dictates. This change will be happening in 3, 2, 1. Then Naruto's world turned black. Oh. Naruto blearily opened his eyes to the world. It was dark. He was lying on the ground in no small amount of discomfort and he had a splitting headache. He looked around for any detail that would seem out of the ordinary that might give credence to why he was on the ground. Naruto spotted the book that he had grabbed out of his ninja pouch. Picking it up, he found out that the front cover now read Naruto, the gaming handbook. What the hell is this thing? Naruto thought to himself. On one hand, Naruto could open it up and find out. On the other hand, something worse than him blacking out could happen. His curiosity won the debate. Cracking it open once more, new words came out on the front page. Welcome to Naruto, the gaming handbook. Would you like a tour? Yes, no. Yes. Naruto tried saying to it. New words popped up under the confirmations. Welcome to Naruto, the gaming handbook. Would you like a tour? Yes, no. Tap an option. Naruto pushed his finger down on yes, and new words popped up on the page. Welcome to Naruto, the gaming handbook. All hints given by the tour guide, me, will be given in between asterisks. Please turn the page onto the base stats section. Asterisk. Naruto complied and was visually assaulted by walls of text and statistics. Reading. This is the base stats section of the book. On it contains all of the things that make you, you. Asterisk. Naruto Uzumaki. Express. 55 4,000ths level ups available. This shows your experience point score. You gain experience points only by fighting other strong individuals in open combat. This could be classified as fighting to the death, or simply sparring. Level ups can only be achieved when you reach the current level cap of your experience level. Level ups include points to affect your base stats as well as points to affect your attribute stats, which will be explained later. Chakra. 50. This is the total amount of chakra available to you. Chakra control. 5. This affects the expenditure of chakra for various tasks. Asterisk. Wisdom. 40. Wisdom is all about how one uses the intelligence that one has for battle applications. Asterisk. Intelligence. 2. Total level of factual knowledge. Charisma. 50. This stat represents how much people like you and are willing to listen to what you have to say. Usually only has an impact on strangers who don't have any pre-made thoughts and assumptions about your character. Flexibility. 10. The nimbleness and agility of a person. Speed. 12. How fast one moves, thinks, or reacts. Strength. 10. How much weight one is capable of being under. Endurance. 40. How long you can operate in battle scenarios. You are incapable of changing base stats by any other method than putting points into the areas given by level ups. This has its ups and downs, as you are incapable of working out for a strength stat increase, but your muscles will also never atrophy. Asterisk. All of these stats are subjective to the average shinobi, i.e., zeros across the board are average for people who have just started the academy. Genin average in the 20s. Chunin average in the 40s. Jonin average in the 60s. Anbu are all over the place, but for simplicity, let's just say that they average in the 80s. Cage level shinobi average in the 100s. Please turn the page to the attributes section. This has to be some kind of joke. Naruto thought to himself. Nevertheless, he did what the tour guide told him to do. This is the attributes section of the book. On it contains all the things that you are capable of doing. There are 7 expandable sections to the attributes section. Tap to enhance each one and learn more about them. Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Taijutsu, Senjutsu, Kenjutsu, Jinchuriki Jutsu, miscellaneous. Naruto tapped on ninjutsu first, which expanded into more sections. Learning rate 5200ths. As you can see, there is a limit to how well you can perform in any given area. There are various bonuses attributed to increases in these stats, and you can't train and attribute better once it hits maximum. Elemental affinities, tap to expand. Tap here to go back. Naruto tapped on the affinities section. Wind 0200s x2. You have a wind affinity, which means that you will learn how to use wind elemental manipulation and wind jutsus twice as fast, and it will cost half attribute points to increment. Fire 0200s by 0.5. Because you have a wind affinity, you will learn fire-based elemental manipulation and jutsus 0.5 times as fast, and it will cost double attribute points to increment. Earth 0200s. Water 0200s. Lightning 0200s. Tap here to go back. Naruto went back to tap on the Genjutsu option. Learning rate 0200s. Detection 0200s. Affects how well you can detect illusions. Dispel 0200s. Affects how well you can dispel illusions. Tap here to go back. Naruto went to the Taijutsu option. Learning rate 2200s. Pain tolerance 25200s. Affects much pain you can endure before blacking out. Form 5200s. Affects your elegance in hand-to-hand combat. Tap here to go back. Naruto went to the Senjutsu option, which he had never heard of. Prerequisite of Senjutsu training. Talk to a person who is capable of Senjutsu and convince them to teach you. Tap here to go back. Naruto sweat dropped. Well, never mind then, he thought to himself, while going to the Kenjutsu option. Learning rate 0200s. Form 0200s. Versatility 01000s. Versatility affects how well you fight with a variety of different weapons that you have no formal or teached experience in. From sei, to katanas, to chakrams, everything's game. Tap here to go back. Jinchuriki Jutsu made Naruto's eyebrows go up in surprise. There are jutsus that I can use with Fuzzball's chakra. Cool. Control 1000ths. Control affects how much of Kyuubi's chakra you can take at once and still remain emotionally stable. Shape manipulation 1000ths. Affects how well you can manipulate and control the chakra to your whim, allowing you to access different levels and forms of your traditional Biju cloak. Tap here to go back. When Naruto tapped the miscellaneous option, it expanded across pages and pages of the book. On a cursory glance, Naruto saw that they all were out of 50 points and were all somewhat useless to him. Cooking, cleaning, singing, giving massages, forging, trap laying, seduction, poison identification and synthesizing. Okay, so maybe they all weren't so useless, but there were so many of them that Naruto would have a tough time sorting out the useful things to learn and the useless things to learn. Asterisk. The affinity section is comprised of skills that can be increased out of training yourself, but can also be supplemented by the points that you receive from leveling up. Asterisk. The last part of the last page of the affinity section read please turn the page to the merit section. Naruto did so and was met with a couple of pages that were full of grayed out boxes that had different words written down on them. Dead bone pulse, strength of 1000, animal attributes, tongue modification, fire master, lightning rod, ice release. Wait, ice release. That's the thing that Haku had. Naruto tapped the grayed out box that had Haku's Kake Genkai on it. Merit. Ice release. The legendary elemental Kake Genkai of the Yuki clan. Prerequisites. Meet and battle a member of the Yuki clan. Water Elemental Manipulation 100 200ths. Wind Elemental Manipulation 100 200ths. Unlocks Ice Elemental Manipulation and Jutsus to learn. Tap here to go back. Naruto sighed. This UI is so clunky. At the merit screen, there was new text. As I'm sure that you've found out, you can unlock different unique jutsus, body modification techniques, or Kakei Genkei, but you'll need to meet the prerequisites first. These are unlocked by using merit points, of which, one is awarded for every 2 level ups. Please flip to the People section. The People section consisted of an index of people that he met sorted out in alphabetical order as well as all the information that he knew of them so far. Please flip to the Achievement section. This is so weird, Naruto thought to himself. The Achievement section contains all the things that you've done that are worthy of mention. Most of them have some sort of reward associated with them. Asterisk. Achievement unlocked. Passed the Academy +5 intelligence. Achievement unlocked. Became a genin, for real +1 to all base stats. Achievement unlocked. Defeated Haku of the Ice +10 Wind Manipulation, +10 Water Manipulation. This concludes the tour of Naruto, the game handbook. Please note that there will be other things within this world that will only make sense to you. But you have to find them for yourself. Have a good day. Or a good night in your case. Single quote. Okay. Time to review the information so far. Naruto thought out to himself. I've found some weird book that knocked me out when I first opened it up. Then I opened it up again and it tells me all this weird stuff about me being in a game or some shit. This is either a really cruel and inventive prank, or I'm tripping out. Naruto flipped the book back to beginning to find that his stats had been changed. Naruto Uzumaki. Express. 55 4,000ths level ups available. Chakra. 51. Chakra Control. 6. Wisdom. 41. Intelligence. 8. Charisma. 51. Flexibility. 11. Speed. 13. Strength. 11. Endurance. 41. Naruto tapped on the level up option. You've leveled up 3 times. You are now level 4. +15 base stat modifiers +50 affinity stat modifiers +2 merit points. There were now pluses and minuses beside the base stat points. Naruto shrugged. If he had already spent this much time investing in the book, he would play along for a while longer. He dumped all 15 of the base modifiers into his chakra control, as he had always been told that he needed to work on that because of his large chakra size. There was a prompt for confirmation, which he pressed. URK. There was a burning sensation in Naruto's gut. It felt as though his chakra system was resorting itself out in the most painful way possible. The pain was gone as soon as it came and left Naruto gasping for breath. What the is this thing? Naruto said in between gasps for breath as he held onto the strange book. Wait, if this thing is real. Naruto put his hands together in cross formation and whispered out, Shadow Clone. There was soon a perfect replica of Naruto right next to the original, but that wasn't the cool part. What was the cool part was how it felt to spawn the clone. It was easier, vastly so. Not that it wasn't easy to begin with, but it was just the way that the chakra flowed inside of Naruto's body to create the construct of chakra that had him gaping at the book. This thing is real, he thought out in wonder. Naruto reopened up the book and went to affinity section. He had 50 points and a lot of options to choose from. The blonde knew that his taijutsu sucked, but he didn't want to dump all the points into it just like he did with chakra control. So he decided to distribute it evenly across the genjutsu skill traits and the taijutsu skill traits. Leaving him with genjutsu. Learning rate 9 200ths. Detection 9 200ths. Dispel 8 200ths. Taijutsu. Learning rate 28 200ths. Pain tolerance 33 200ths. Form 13 200ths. He pressed confirm, but didn't feel like anything of merit happened. There was no sudden pain in his gut, but that could easily be chalked up to him changing his affinity stats as opposed to his base stats. He also had some merit points to do things with. Grinning with glee, he opened up the merit section to see what had been unlocked for him. Not much, as it would seem. There were 3 boxes that had lost their dull gray color in favor of a light beige color. They read Sharingan, Stage 1 Affability, and Medical Ninjutsu. Naruto wanted to immediately shove a merit point and get the Sharingan, but held off at the mention of Stage 1. Looking deeper into it, Naruto discovered that the Sharingan had 5 stages in total. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3, Mangenkyu, and Eternal Mangenkyu. All of these had incredible powers associated with them, but they also had steeper and steeper requirements with each iteration. The Eternal Mangenkyu required Naruto to kill someone with the normal Mangenkyu Sharingan eyes, have 80 in almost all the base stats, and invest 10 merit points towards it. Naruto wasn't sure whether or not the investment in the first stages would be worth the investment in the latter stages, so he checked out the other merit points that were available to him. Affability. You are a nice and honest guy, who has a quality that makes people gravitate towards you. Unlocks. What people think of you, in the people section. Prerequisites. Have 50 charisma. Cost. 1 merit point. That was a really good thing to have. He could find out how people think about him and change their perspectives. He tentatively put a point towards that. Naruto rationalized it as the fact that he could always choose the Sharingan at a later date. Medical ninjutsu. You have enough chakra control that you can start the enrollment into the medical nin field. Unlocks. Medical ninjutsu, in the ninjutsu section. Prerequisites. Have 20 chakra control. Cost. 1 merit point. Naruto flashed back to the bridge. Sasuke was dying of various puncture wounds and Naruto couldn't do anything to help him. He knew that Sasuke was okay and just in a catatonic state after the battle, but he didn't want to feel that helpless ever again, and thusly put a point in towards it. All the spendable points were gone. So Naruto headed over to the people section to find out how his teammates feel about him. Kakashi. What Kakashi thinks of me? Annoying. Sakura. What Sakura thinks of me? Annoying. Sasuke. What Sasuke thinks of me? Annoying, slightly grudging respect. Naruto's heart sank a bit at how Sakura thought of him. Wait a minute, this doesn't help me at all. Naruto shouted out mentally. Mental sigh, I should have gone with the Sharingan. From the window in Naruto's room, he could tell that it was still dark out. His eyelids felt heavy. He had been having a strange night. It's probably a good idea to get some sleep. Naruto put the book on the nightstand and hit the bed with a thud. Slept took him almost instantly. Hey Kakashi. Yes. You're a sucky teacher. Team 7 was walking on a road that towards Konoha. Sasuke had to take it slow because of his injuries. Sakura was checking up on him very often. Kakashi was absent-mindedly reading his porn, and Naruto had his head stuck in the Naruto guidebook. More specifically, its people section. Kakashi. What Kakashi thinks of you? Annoying. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Mostly unknown. Merits. Stolen Sharingan. Dog summoning contract. Teaching merit. 0.2x ninjutsu, 0.2x genjutsu, 0.2x taijutsu, 0.1x kenjutsu x 10 dogkeeping. Asterisk. The teaching merit signifies how fast and well a person is capable of teaching you. If nothing is mentioned in it, you can assume that they have a 1x ability to teach you. For example, if you are taught by a person of 1x ninjutsu or lower, you would probably be better off just teaching that aspect to yourself. Teaching merit does not signify personal strength, merely how well someone teaches you those concepts. Asterisk. Also keep in mind that a person can only teach as much as they know. Asterisk. Oh, well, you're a sucky student. Kakashi said without looking away from his porn. Naruto wanted to show off his relatively high ninjutsu learning rate to prove the lazy teacher otherwise, but decided it would be for the best if people didn't know that his life had suddenly been turned into a video game. Naruto stewed in silence for a while before asking, do you know anyone that can teach medical ninjutsu? This comment did manage to draw Kakashi's eyes away from the book and to his blonde student. I'm sure that you could talk to someone at the hospital if you wanted to become a medic nin. But why the sudden interest? You don't seem like the type to go into medicine and your chakra control is still shot to hell. It is not. I've gotten better with it. Naruto said indignantly. Kakashi walked over to a tree and plucked a small leaf from a low-hanging branch. Tossing it to the blonde protagonist, Kakashi said, once you can float that leaf on your hand using only your chakra, I'll talk to a friend of mine to get you enrolled in medic training. Kakashi pulled his attention back to his porn and started walking on the road again. You know Sakura, you could receive benefits from medic training as well with your chakra control. Really, sensei? She asked excitedly. I don't see why you shouldn't be able. Done. Naruto said, interrupting their conversation. Huh? Kakashi asked. Looking back at the blonde, his single eye went wide in surprise. Naruto was indeed floating the leaf on his hand, rather effortlessly as well. Naruto. You'll talk to your friend, right? Naruto asked excitedly. Sure. But more importantly, how are you able to do that? What? The leaf exercise. I haven't taught you that yet. That's 'cause you're a sucky teacher. Naruto. Kakashi said seriously. I heard it from a friend and I've been practicing it while you guys were resting. Naruto quickly said, trying to bullshit his teacher. Kakashi knew that his student was hiding something from him, but he decided that a chakra control exercise was of no consequence and did not merit further investigation. Okay, I'll talk to that friend of mine. Yada. Naruto cried, jumping up in the air with glee. Once he came back down, the blonde once again buried his head in his guidebook. Sasuke had picked up a leaf as well and was trying to emulate what his teammate had done, but it was hard. To balance a leaf on his hand meant having to create a constant stream of chakra that held the leaf in place on all sides. He couldn't use too much chakra on any one side, otherwise it would just fall off. He also couldn't use too much chakra in general, otherwise it would crumple under the pressure. Oi Dobi, Sasuke said to the blonde after trying the exercise for a while. Yeah, Naruto asked without lifting his head from the guidebook. How do you do that? What? The leaf exercise. You just hold in place with your chakra. Naruto said simply. I know that. But how did you do it? I held it in place with chakra. Naruto said with a confused lilt. Sasuke sighed. What I mean is, do you have any hints for completing the exercise? You just create a circle of chakra around it, then anchor it to your hand. Sasuke did what Naruto said to do, but was met with the same success as his previous attempts. Dobi, I'm having trouble keeping the chakra stream consistent. How did you get around that particular problem? Sasuke said slowly with a pissed off expression on his face. I don't know what to tell you. Practice. Sasuke looked to Sakura, who was trying the same exercise and was getting it far better than he was. He made his way over to her the help that he wasn't getting from his other teammate. Naruto was leafing through the guidebook, checking up on the miscellaneous section for anything of value when he found a new part of the book that wasn't shown in the tour. Abilities, status effects. Shadow clone, tap to enhance. Transformation. Sexy jutsu. Substitution jutsu. Curious, Naruto tapped on the shadow clone to see what it had in it. Shadow clone. The ability to split one's chakra evenly up between one or more constructs. Uses. Combat support. This confused Naruto. Why is the shadow clone the only one that has more detail to it? And what other uses does it have? Hey Kakashi. Kakashi sighed. Why was his student so talkative all of the sudden? Yes. What can the shadow clone technique do? What do you mean by that? What are its uses? Kakashi closed his book and looked Naruto in the eye. What's brought this on? Curiosity. You suddenly became curious about the inner workings and applications of your jutsu. Yep. Naruto said with a smile. Kakashi pinched the bridge of his nose in agitation. Okay. I'll tell you. So you do know. MMHMM. Why haven't you told me this before? Just shut up and listen. Naruto nodded obediently. As you know, the shadow clone jutsu splits up your chakra between your copies and you get it back when it dispels. This allows for all the clone's memories to be given back to you when its chakra is disrupted. You can use this to train in a hard concept much faster, or to spy on enemies. The reason I haven't told you about this function yet is because training in that method can be extremely dangerous if you take too much information at once. I don't trust you enough to train responsibly. So I can train in medical jutsu and ninjutsu at the same time. Whatever floats your boat. Awesome. I am going to completely abuse this. Naruto said with a cackling laugh. Kakashi's sweat dropped at his student's antics. Just remember to not go overboard and kill yourself. It'd be a bad mark as a teacher to have a student to kill himself training. Do you honestly care about what other people think of you? Good point. Kakashi went back to reading his porn. Hey Kakashi. Why can't I just read in peace? Kakashi thought to himself. Yes. Do you know anyone else who could help me train? If it's an apprenticeship that you're looking for, they can be rather hard to obtain. But if you just need training in a singular subject, I think I could point you in the right direction. Okay then, how about ninjutsu? Asuma Sarutobi specializes in elemental ninjutsu, particularly wind and fire. But you'll have to convince him to train you in his free time because he has a team to train as well. Genjutsu. Kurenai Yuhi. Same problem as Asuma. Taijutsu. Mito Gai. Same problem as Asuma. Senjutsu. What's Senjutsu? Never mind. Kenjutsu. Hayate Gecko or his fiancée Yugao Azuki. That's good to know. Yes. Anyone who knows stuff like poisons, and lying, and trap setting. Naruto said unsurely. I suppose you could ask Anko Mitarashi for those things. She's a member of torture and interrogation, so she's pretty good with sneaky stuff like that. But she's kind of unhinged. That's fine. I'll just use shadow clones. Naruto said with a smile. Where can I find them? Just go to the shinobi log at mission assignment. They'll point you to their living residences. Awesome. Oh. Several slow, monotonous days of walking later, Naruto ran into a problem with his teaching situation. Namely, no one wanted to. Asuma, Kurenai, Gai, Hayate and Azuki all professed that their schedules were far too busy to take on another student. Well, Gai had suggested that Naruto could work out with them once his training with Lee, Tenten, and Neji had ended. But Naruto didn't get any benefits from working out anymore, so he graciously refused the enigmatic man's offer. Naruto couldn't even find Anko. On the door to her apartment read, "If you need me. I'm probably at the Forest of Death." Where was the Forest of Death? Which led to his current situation. Being at home and browsing through the merit section of the guidebook, waiting for the medic nin that Kakashi knew to take him to the hospital to start his training. Naruto put the book down. Browsing through the merit section was cool, but he didn't think that he'd remember the requirements for each individual one. Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled very slowly and very loudly. He was bored again. Naruto eyed his ninja pouch with a smirk on his face. I wonder if there's anything in there. It was worth a try. The last time he checked his ninja pouch when he was bored had changed his viewpoint on life. Naruto reached inside and felt something cylindrical in nature. No way. He grasped the object and pulled out a scroll. Well, it wasn't really a scroll. More like a poster that was wrapped around a short wooden pole. Unfurling it, it read, Homeowner's Guidebook. Total money, $324. Cleanliness, 44/100. Renovation cost, $15,000. New apartment. Browse housing. Under that was a detailed diagram of Naruto's floor plan with boxes in the middle of each room. Slightly perturbed by the stats, Naruto tapped on one of the boxes to find out what it would do. A list of new rooms came up, each with a description and cost to replace the old one. Small greenhouse. You will be able to grow your own poisonous or medical plants to help you with your job as a shinobi. Prerequisite. Gardening 25/50. Cost, $3,000. Small dojo. You will be able to fight, spar, and practice with other people in a safe, personal environment. Prerequisite. Taijutsu form 4200. Cost, $10,000. Torture and interrogation room. You will be able to extract information in a personal, friendly environment. Prerequisite. T&I 20/50. Cost, $2,000. Master bedroom. Contains a large bed, 2 dressers, and a flat screen TV. Prerequisite. Nothing. Cost, $15,000. Love room. Contains anything and everything that you and your partner might want to experiment with in the bedroom. Prerequisite. Have another permanent resident of whom you are romantically involved with. Cost, $30,000. Grand bathroom. 2 sinks, 2 full-sized mirrors, a luxurious clawfoot bath, a fully stocked shower, and a beautiful floor plan. Prerequisite. Nothing. Cost, $60,000. There will be more room options the larger house or apartment that you own. Also keep in mind that unless you expand, you will not be able to get every room here. Cleanliness is 44 out of 100. Naruto looked around. The apartment certainly could use a spring cleaning day or two. Our blonde protagonist spawned 3 clones and told them to clean the place up while he studied the homeowner's guidebook some more. To start with, he tapped on the Browse Housing button. Another list popped up, but this time of various houses and apartments throughout the city of Kanahagakure that were available for purchase. There was even an option to buy the apartments that were next to his in order to extend it somewhat. Well, this is cool, but I don't have the money to do anything with it. Naruto exited the list and was pleased to find that the cleanliness was already at 51/100ths. Keep up the good work, guys. There were various grunts of affirmation throughout the living quarters. After Naruto had studied the poster some more, his doorbell rang out. Quickly rolling the poster back up and tossing it onto the ground, he ran to open the door to a shinobi that was dressed in pure white medic smocks. You're Naruto Uzumaki. Yup. You're the guy that Kakashi-sensei knows. The man nodded. Cool. Naruto spawned another clone and told it, follow this guy. He'll train you to be a medic. I know. It answered. I'm you. A shadow clone. The man asked. That's okay, right? The medic pinched the bridge of his nose. Yeah, it's fine. You wouldn't be the first person to do it. He began walking away from the door with the clone in tow. Oh wait. Naruto called after him. He turned around and raised an eyebrow. Do you know where the Forest of Death is? Yeah, it's training ground 44 in training block D. You can't miss it. It looks like, well, a forest of death. Cool. Thanks, man. Naruto promptly closed the door and went to gather some ninja supplies. Hopefully, this Anko chick wouldn't turn him away immediately. Oh. The Forest of Death. Naruto was walking around the fenced-in training ground 44 hoping that Anko would be somewhere around the edge of it as opposed to inside of it. Because there was no way he was venturing into that creepy place. Naruto felt a projectile whistle past his ear. Whirling around to face the perpetrator, he found himself in front of a woman with purple hair wearing a large trench coat over a tightly woven mesh bodysuit and a brown miniskirt. She bent over to smirk at him. You lost, kid. Quickly gaining his composure, he said, that depends, are you Anko Mitarashi? She stood up and started pacing around with an arrogant demeanor. Has my fame exceeded me that much? Yes, kid, I'm the wonderful and awesome Anko Mitarashi. What can I do you for? Will you teach me? Naruto asked confidently. She deadpanned. What? Will you teach me? Naruto repeated. Well, what do you want to be taught? She lost her arrogant demeanor in favor of a befuddled one. Well, like, you know. Poisons, lying, trap detection, trap laying, stuff that you know. What? Like an apprenticeship? Sure. Sorry, kid, I don't do apprenticeships. She closed her eyes and made to walk away from him. Wait, please. Nobody else will teach me. Naruto cried out after her. She turned around and rose an eyebrow. Oh, yeah, I have the laziest Jonin instructor ever. I'm getting combat medic training, but I really need someone to instruct me on the essentials. He pleaded at her. A lazy instructor, huh? You get a Suma or something. Kakashi. Her eyebrows rose in surprise. Kakashi. He took a squad. Oh, I feel bad for you, kid. See, so you'll do it. She thought it over for a few seconds before replying. If you have the free time, come over in the afternoons, I'll be here. If I'm on a mission, I'll leave a note. But I still don't do apprenticeships. Thanks so much. Where do we start? She smirked cruelly at him. I'll only do it if you manage to survive an hour in the Forest of Death. A small transparent window opened up right in front of her. It read, Mission. Survive an hour in the Forest of Death with Anko Mitarashi. Rewards. Increased influence with Anko Mitarashi. Status effect. Student of Anko, 5000 Express. What's up, kid? You look out of it. Even if there was a pop-up in front of him, nothing was perceived by her. Huh. Oh, yeah, I accept. The pop-up closed down. That's great, kid. You've got 1 minute. 1 minute before what? I start chasing you. Her smile was extremely off-putting to Naruto. He ran as fast as he could to the gates. Oh. About 60 minutes later, Anko was frowning. The first 15 or so minutes had gone by swimmingly for her. She would track the kid and harass him with little things like a fist to the gut, a boa constrictor, or even just insults thrown from afar. But after that, he started liberally using shadow clones to confuse her and led her on false trails. She had to admit that tracking him multiple times and dispelling the clones was really fun, but they had no sustenance to them. They just dispelled and that was it. No screams, no agony, no pain. Just poof, they're gone. For a kid, he had absolutely huge chakra reserves. They definitely surpassed her own if he could make so many splits of himself and still operate. She was amused by all the time wasted on this survival exercise, but other than the shadow clone, he was definitely not a very good shinobi. He never even tried to chakra climb a tree to get away. Every clone that she encountered had been on foot. And even before that, the kid always ran on the ground. He didn't fight very well and showed no other skills that she could see. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a broken twig and a shoeprint in mud. A clone had been around here. She was about to run in pursuit when she heard someone shout down at her from above. Hours up. A thud later and her new blonde student was standing right in front of her. You'll teach me now, right? She was looking at him, gaping like a fish. You led me on. Naruto grinned. Yup. I spent the first part on foot so you'd think that I couldn't do the tree walking exercise, then I made an assload of clones that distracted you from the real me. After that, I just shadowed you from above. Gotta say, you're kind of unhinged. She smiled at him. What makes you say that, brat? Well, you did summon a giant snake to eat one of my clones. What would you have done if that was the real me? Pretend like you never existed. She said through a dangerous smile. That's concerning. MMHMM. It seems like you've passed through the survival training. Let's call it a day for now. Remember, meet me here on afternoons. Yosh. She body flickered away from him, leaving him in the middle of the woods. Wait, where's the exit? Well, this is you trying to get back at me, isn't it? He said to the open air. No, it's not. A voice sounded out from somewhere above him. Oh. About 4 hours later. It was thoroughly dark when Naruto finally walked through the door to his apartment. With a groan, he fell down onto his bed and almost fell asleep. At some point, the shadow clone that was with the medic had dispelled and offloaded a lot of information into Naruto's head. He passed through at least, but it did cost Naruto a huge headache in the middle of the woods. A headache that he did not need. Naruto reached out for the book that was on his nightstand and opened it up. There was a text window that was superimposed onto his base stats. Mission accomplished. You get 5,000 experience points, status effect, student of Anko. The pop-up vanished as soon as he stopped reading it. He had a level up, which he tapped on. You are now level 5. Plus 5 base stat modifiers, plus 20 attribute stat modifiers. Asterisk, the more you level up, the larger your attribute points gained will be, but base stat modifiers always stay the same. Asterisk. Naruto dumped the 5 points into intelligence, making it go up to 13. After hitting confirm, his headache worsened exponentially. After that, he flipped to the attribute section and decided to divide up the 20 points amongst poison identification and synthesizing, trap laying, trap detection, and poison resistance in the miscellaneous section, bringing them all up to 5/50ths. With nothing left to change, Naruto dropped the book back onto the nightstand and promptly fell asleep. Anko Mitarashi. What Anko thinks about me? Interesting. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Extraneous ninja skills, mostly unknown. Teaching ability. 2x poison identification and synthesizing, 2x trap laying, 2x trap detection, 2x seduction, 2x torture and interrogation, 2x lying, 2x poison resistance, 2x venom resistance, 2x field medicine, 1.5x ninjutsu, 1.5x taijutsu. What does interesting mean? God. Affability is so useless. Shikamaru Nara. What Shikamaru thinks about me? Loud. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. Why are all of these descriptions of me so vague? Choji Akamaiki. What Choji thinks about me? Nice. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. Thanks, man. I knew you'd have my back. Ino Yamanaka. What Ino thinks about me? Annoying. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. Well, screw you too. Shino Aburame. What Shino thinks about me? Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. It's blank. I guess that means that he doesn't have an opinion of me. Kiba Inuzuka. What Kiba thinks about me? Loud, annoying, stupid. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. Damn mutt. Hinata Hyuga. What Hinata thinks about me? Nice, kind, caring, hardworking, funny, uplifting, strong, determined. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. Whoa, Hinata thinks that way about me. Why didn't she say anything in the academy? I've barely interacted with her. Naruto shook his head in confusion and exited the people section of his book. Well, my life has been turned into a game. My life specifically. It's like it affects no one other than me. Naruto looked up at the ceiling in thought. Becoming the Hokage is a good goal and all, but I'm able to go on the road to do anything. Medic Nin, ninjutsu specialist, genjutsu expert. I need a goal that I can work towards to in the meantime. Naruto went back to the merit section of the guidebook and flipped to the last couple of pages for anything that spoke to him. Out of the corner of his eye, Naruto saw something called a romantic at heart. Tapping on it, it read, romantic at heart. You know how people feel to such a degree that you can innately know how they romantically feel about you, as well as what their romantic interests are. Prerequisite. Charisma 30, Seduction 20/50. Unlocks. New features in the people section of the guidebook. Naruto's eyes grew wide. If I get this, then I can finally get Sakura to go on a date with me. Looks like Naruto has a new goal to strive for. Oh. Mission assignment. Naruto was looking at another pop-up with a little bit of confusion. New mission. Mr. Hizo needs some extra hands to milk his cows. Prerequisite. Have the approval of one of the mission directors. Reward. $300. What are you staring at, Naruto? Sakura asked with a little bit of concern. Oh, nothing. Hey Kakashi. He grunted. Can I take extra missions on my own? You have to take the mission that I have assigned for all of us. But you can take some on your free time for extra money if you wish. Naruto created a few shadow clones. Looks like I've got some free time, he said with a smirk. Kakashi eyed them carefully. If it's okay with the mission directors. The Chunin on duty sighed in annoyance. It's not practical to send clones on missions C ranked and above because of the relatively high chance that they could dispel midway through. That being said, there are a lot of D-ranked missions that have relatively low chances of that happening. So long as the mission is completed, you'll get paid. But also be aware that if you're unable to complete the assignment, you won't get any money and you could also get fined for it. So that's a yes for shadow clones. I guess. But all the responsibility rests on your shoulders. Naruto smiled in glee. That takes care of the money problem. Shadow clones are so cool. Kakashi looked down on Naruto with his usual aloof expression. Naruto, remember what I said about abusing shadow clones? Yeah, I got it. But I don't see what the big deal is. After the shadow clone that went to the hospital dispelled, I only got a small headache. Exactly. That was one clone. If too many clones that have studied various shinobi fields all dispel at once, your brain will fry itself from the offload. I know. I'll only use shadow clones in mass to do mind-numbing tasks. And only assign 2 at the most to do other things. Oi, I don't want to do mind-numbing missions, one shadow clone cried indignantly. Oh, cool your pants. Everything you do, I remember doing. That doesn't make it okay. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. While Naruto and his clone were fighting, Sakura leaned next to Sasuke and whispered, seeing Naruto argue with himself it kind of funny. Oh, don't be like that. You have to admit that it's at least pretty surreal. Sasuke grunted a confirmation once more. About 30 minutes later, the mission that they were all assigned on was to clean up a pond that had litter all around its rim in the middle of a botanical garden. It didn't take up a lot of mental acuity to complete, but they all had to work together because they were all in charge of a different type of litter. Naruto was in charge of trash, Sasuke was in charge of glass, metal recyclables, and Sakura was in charge of plastic recyclables. All while Kakashi watched from the corner of his eye, of course. It was a large pond. To get the work done in any reasonable amount of time, they had to either call out a particular item that another person was in charge of or throw it to them to be put into the bag. The hard part was that they had to communicate well, or else someone might get a soggy banana peel to the face. Ah. Naruto threw the peel that had landed on his head to ground as quickly as he was able to. Realizing that it was only a piece of trash, he shouted out, "Oi! Sorry, Naruto." Sakura apologized sheepishly. "But I did call it out to you. I didn't hear it. Can you call it out louder next time?" "Okay." Naruto picked up the rapidly sinking banana peel and tossed it back into his bag. After a few more minutes of this, when Naruto had made his way unknowingly close to his sensei, Kakashi asked disinterestedly, "So what are you saving up for?" "What?" Now Naruto had to look for trash on the surface and sides of the water, respond to Sasuke and Sakura throwing trash at him to put in his bag, and talk to Kakashi all at the same time. "You must be taking extra missions for a reason. And I doubt that completing D-ranked missions has become something of a hobby to you." "I'm saving up to buy the apartment next to mine," Naruto said, face still looking down at the water for trash. "Why?" "For the space." "What do you need more space for?" "Rooms." "Like what?" "A dojo maybe." "A dojo?" "Yeah. Got a problem with that. Why don't you just go to a dojo instead of wasting thousands of dollars worth of renovations for a dojo in your living space?" "It was just a thought. Maybe I could make a greenhouse in there." "For what reason?" "I don't know. Poisonous and medical plants. It's more cost effective to buy those at a local shinobi store. Exotic plants that aren't sold there. You'd have to get the exotic plant first. Then I'll get it. Why are you questioning me so much?" "It amuses me." "Well, guess what? I don't really ga." A decomposing pizza box hit Naruto in the head. "Open your ears, Dobi," Sasuke yelled at him from across the pond. Naruto sighed and put the pizza box into the bag. What kind of person brings a pizza box to a botanical garden? He muttered to himself. "So how did the medic training go?" "I got accepted. Now I'm sending a clone over there every morning. And your search for another teacher. Only one of them accepted me," he said dismally. "Oh really? Which one?" "Anko Mitarashi." "Really? You sound surprised. She isn't exactly a proponent of the whole teacher-student relationship. Out of all of them, I thought she would be the one to turn you down the fastest." "Well, she didn't accept to it until I told her that you're my Jonin sensei." "Why?" "Don't know. By the way, when is team training going to be over?" "Work out a timetable with her already." "Not really. I'm just supposed to show up whenever I'm free in the afternoon." By the time the mission is over and team training is done, I'm thinking it might be 3-ish. "You sure? Because you have terrible sense of time." "Hey, I've got a great sense of time. I'm just delayed for things." "Delayed?" "Yes. By what?" "The road of life. A black cat. An old woman who needs to cross the street. Some variation of that." Kakashi went back to his porn, not wanting to talk anymore. Naruto went back to the trash collecting in thought. Kakashi did have a point with his housing renovations. A dojo or a greenhouse might not be the best of things to spend money on. Perhaps he could spend it on things for pleasure and luxury. Like the master bedroom, or the grand bathroom. He could also just spend the money to get into a decently sized house to see if there were any other types of rooms worth buying. But that was risky. What if there were no rooms that had any actual use? It's not like putting a forge in a house meant getting better weapons. That being said, he now had the ability to receive mass amounts of capital by sending shadow clones en masse to the mission assignment room. He was going to start receiving large amounts of money and didn't have a lot of other things to spend it on. Wait, maybe he could use the money to buy training from a Jonin. No, that wouldn't work. Being a Jonin is a rather lucrative business. High-ranked missions pay a lot of money, they wouldn't need any more for an incentive to teach. Anything they did as a matter of what they wanted, or were obligated to do. Team 7 passed through the rest of the mission rather effortlessly, with Naruto only occasionally receiving a piece of trash to the face. Once the pond was clear of litter, Naruto and company gathered around Kakashi for orders on what to do next. "Okay guys, I've got some news. In a week there's going to be the annual Chunin exams and we're hosting it. It's going to be slightly irregular if what Hokage-sama told me is accurate. You all have to sign waivers and report to the academy in exactly 1 week's time." "Chunin exams?" Sakura asked. "It's the series of tests that occur every 6 months within an alternating cast of the main 5 villages. Will you actually train us for it?" Sasuke asked. "I'm sure that teamwork exercises will be enough for now. If you want extra training, you could do what Naruto did and find another teacher. So you're just pushing us off to someone else. You don't have to sound so vindictive about it. Wait, Naruto got another teacher? Sakura asked. Yup. Kakashi answered. Her name is Anko Mitarashi. Oi Dobi, this Anko chick. What does she teach? Sasuke asked Naruto. Lying, and trap setting, and trap detection, and poisons. Stuff like that. HN. Doesn't sound very useful. Then don't ask to be taught by her. Okay. You three, Kakashi said, interrupting them. I'm going to go now. Train however you like. Hey, you said that we'd be done by 3. It's almost noon. Naruto said. Kakashi pointed upwards to the sky. There was a hawk flying around in lazy circles. That means that the Hokage needs us Jonin. With that, he body flickered away from his students. RRGG. I hate that guy, Naruto said. So what are we supposed to do now? Sakura asked. I don't know. Maybe Anko is where she said that we'd meet. Naruto said, mostly to himself. And I could check by the hospital to see if I'm good for being a medic nin. Sakura said. Well, what am I supposed to do? Sasuke asked. Get another teacher. Naruto suggested. I don't know any other teachers. You like fire ninjutsu, right? Kakashi said that Asuma Sarutobi was good with those. Didn't he turn you down? Yup. Naruto started to walk off to what he perceived was the direction of the Forest of Death. Anko's part in the people section of the book said that she was good with seduction. Just the thing he needed to get the romantic at heart merit. Sasuke and Sakura also parted and went their separate ways after Naruto left. About 30 minutes later, Naruto found Anko sitting on a shack and eating dango on a stick. There was a wall to her opposite that had some of the sticks pointing out in a particular way. Hey kid, Anko said, waving at him. You're kind of early. I'm still eating. Naruto hopped up on the shack to join her. Yeah, there was a Jonin meeting and Kakashi had to leave. She nodded in understanding. So how is it going? Naruto Uzumaki, genin of Konohagakure, retainer of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and propagator of the shadow clone technique. Naruto was put on his guard immediately. How do you know all that stuff about me? She nearly burst out laughing. PHHT. You're kidding, right? It was so easy to get information on the kid running around in neon orange. It is not neon orange. Why do people keep on saying that? Because your outfit is difficult to look at in the sun. So bright. It's just orange. And are you sure that you can talk about my tenant? Is that what you're calling it? You found out about it. That means that it's declassified, right? I don't know. Whatever you say, Kyuubi kid. Oh, that's what I'm calling you from now on. Kyuubi kid. Don't call me Kyuubi kid. She feigned a wince. Sore spot. You could say that, Naruto said with an annoyed tone. Maybe convincing her to teach him was a bad idea after all. So when are you going to teach me? I dunno, she said with a mouth full of dango. Swallowing, she said, whatcha wanna start with? Seduction. She spewed out all the food that was in her mouth and burst out laughing. What? He asked. Calming down a bit, she asked in return, aren't you a bit young to learn how to get into a girl's pants? Blushing a little bit, he retorted, it's not like that. Oh really? What's it like then? Well, it's like this. Okay, what is the formal definition of seduction? Seduction is using your words and actions to make someone of a compatible sexuality as you, interested in you romantically or sexually. Then using that infatuation with you to loosen their mouth and obtain information from them. See, getting someone interested in you romantically. That's not trying to get into a girl's pants. She gave him a queer look. Why do you want to learn seduction? That's a pretty weird thing to want to learn, especially seeing as you're only 12. I'm 13. The fact still remains. Why do you want to learn seduction? Naruto scratched the back of his head and looked at her sheepishly. There's this girl I like. She groaned audibly. The reason that you sought me out to be your teacher was so you could learn how to talk to girls. She asked with an irritated tone of voice. No, seduction's just item 1. And item 2. Trap detection. 3. Trap laying. 4. Lying. She looked him up and down in confusion. When I was talking to people to get information on you, they all said that you're crazy for jutsu. You aren't going to ask for any. I'm kind of taking things one step at a time for the moment. Anko let out a long, audible sigh. Seduction. Yeah, okay then. So you're not really interested in getting chicks to give you information on stuff that you might want to know. You just want to ask this girl out. Isn't seduction also a good thing to know how to do? Not really. There aren't very many missions that require you to obtain information via seduction. It's usually easier and cleaner to kidnap the person and drag him or her to torture and interrogation. It's cleaner to torture a person for information instead of talking to them. There's a difference of opinion on the subject. But it's going to be hard for you because you're male. To get men to talk, you just have to put on a shitload of makeup, show your boobs off, and act interested in him. Women are harder. Why? I don't know. Society, biological makeup, psychological makeup. There are a lot of theories as to why men and women act differently on a fundamental level. But that's not important right now. What is important is that they do. And that's going to change the approach on correctly seducing them. So how do I do it? Well, the first part to seducing a female is to get any and all background information on her as possible before talking to her. Once you do, learn her interests. So, stalk them. Bingo. After that, make sure that you, accidentally, run into her during her usual routine and show off that you are interested in something that she is. She'll take notice of that and probably confront you about it. And because you're not stupid and actually studied up on the aforementioned subject, you'll be a master at conversing with her. Then what? Ask her out to coffee or something. God, this is so weird to be telling a 12-year-old. 13. Once you get her to coffee, be a charming and affable person. At the end of it, she'll want to meet up again. MMHMM. After a few more dates, casually bring up the subject that you're trying to learn about. More often than not, she'll spill the beans on it. If not, then just rinse and repeat. But what if it's something that is too much of private knowledge that it can't be brought up in public conversation? That's usually when you drug her and haul her to T&I, but if you want to risk it, you can deepen your relationship until it's to the point where she could trust you with the secret. Okay, and how would this work for kunoichi? What do you mean? It's kind of hard to stalk a kunoichi. And what are you going to do for common interests? You would honestly be surprised to find out how easy it is to get information on a shinobi or a kunoichi. As for the common interests, if she doesn't have any hobbies, then she usually has some form of unique fighting style. Or at least uncommon enough to where meeting someone on the street who has the same interests would be a noteworthy event. For example, if someone wanted to seduce me, he would run into me on my way to a dango shop, because I love dango, and, accidentally, drop his brand new thumb screws to call attention to them, because I'm good at extracting information. Then we'd talk about our favorite information extraction techniques, then he'd ask me out and I'd say yes because he is a nice and charming individual. You go for the nice and charming. You bring up a good point. Sometimes women like a different type of guy than the nice and charming, but that's something to be gotten into later. How would I go about getting a girl who likes another guy to give up information? Drug her and haul her to T&I. Anko. What? It is. Trying to seduce a girl who has her eyes on another man is like trying to sprout wings and fly too. It can't be done unless you do something to drastically change her perspective of the guy that she likes. What if he's already a total douchebag? Then get her to see the douchebag traits of his. What if she likes them? Then kill him and help her get over the tragedy. What if he's my teammate? Anko gave Naruto a very serious look. You know what? Somehow I don't think that this is still a hypothetical question about how to seduce a random girl in the middle of a foreign country. Naruto's silence spoke for him. She sighed. Okay kid, I'll bite. Who is she? Naruto hesitated for a second before saying, Sakura Haruno. She's my teammate. And she likes your other teammate, who's a complete douche to her. Not her specifically. He's just a douche to everyone in general. I guess that he kind of has the right to be a douche, but that still doesn't mean that he should be one. This is the last Uchiha. He nodded. She took a deep breath before continuing. Listen kid, I don't know you very well. But you seem nice enough. So I'm going to tell you one thing about your situation with her. He looked up to her with hope in his eyes. Forget about her. The hope was dashed immediately. No matter how much of a master at seducing someone you are, that won't amount to anything if you want to start a serious relationship with her. You remember how I told you that you're supposed to learn her interests and play off of them to get her attention. He nodded. Well, that only works with seduction because on a base level, you are trying to be someone who you aren't to trick someone. Trying to start a relationship on a base of lies will lead to a relationship that'll fall apart. Naruto stood in a long and heavy silence while he deliberated on what to say to his new teacher next. Anko let him be, knowing that he was trying to say something, but that he just didn't know how to say it right. Finally, he said, I don't care about that. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I don't give up. I'll meet my goals. I'll get Sakura to see how much of a great guy the first am. And I'll become Hokage. Because I'm Naruto Uzumaki and that's just the kind of guy the first am. Anko looked down on him with a little bit of surprise. Huh, so you're going to completely disregard my suggestion? She asked with a dangerous looking smile on her face. Naruto looked at her fearfully. The special Jonin laughed a bit. You know what, kid? I think I like you. So you'll still help me? I guess. It might be interesting to see how this all pans out. I am going to teach you 4 things to get you good at seduction. 1. Collection of information on the target. 2. Successful confrontation of the target. 3. Properly asking the target out on a date. 4. Being a suave and charming person on the date. Today, we are going to verbally run down each and every aspect of those 4 targets. Tomorrow, you will practice all that you learned today on me while you are under a transformation. After all, we can't have you trying to seduce some random kunoichi off the sides of the street. If you're found out, you could be tried for emotional injuries. Okay. Got it. Anko smirked. This might be fun. Are you Kurenai Yuhi? Yes. Who are you? Kurenai asked the stranger that was confronting her. They were situated in a breakfast bar where Kurenai was hoping to get some brunch with Asuma. Asuma had yet to arrive, so Kurenai was left alone until she was accosted by this unknown individual. My name is Kazama Arashi. Anko Mitarashi mentioned that she was good friends with you. Kurenai narrowed her eyes at him. He didn't look suspicious, just a kid in his late teens, but anyone who wanted something to do with Anko was usually up to no good. That is correct. Do you need something from her? He scratched the back of his head nervously. Well, information mostly. Kurenai adopted an irritated look. So there was another one of these pricks. Kurenai thought that they had all lost interest at that point. Look, she's not a danger to Konoha. She's not a sleeper agent. And she is most certainly is not secretly plotting something with Orochimaru. Kazama waved his arms in front of him in denial. No, it's not like that. I just want to know what she likes. That sounds even more suspicious, doesn't it? Kurenai nodded, still with an annoyed look on her face. Look, I just met her a few days ago and I kind of like her. I want to ask her out, but I don't know what she likes. I'm not really one for stalking people around town, so I was hoping that you'd give me some advice on her. Kurenai stared at him unsurely. He seemed genuine, but Kurenai didn't think it was too wise to lend out information of her friends away to strangers. So she decided to test him to make sure of his intentions. What do you like about her? She asked. His response would dictate whether or not she would give away any of her interests. He adopted a faraway and dreamy look. Her smile. Mostly. Her smile. Kurenai asked unbelievingly. Anko didn't smile. She smirked in amusement. He seemed to note her concerns. Not that weird smirking thing she does. Her smile. Her real smile. It's beautiful. He replied dreamily. Kurenai's expression softened. So he was just a love-struck, nervous teenager after all. You really just want to ask her out? Nothing else. Nothing. He said seriously. Perhaps Anko would benefit from dating someone like this. People who acted like Kazama don't come around often, and it could have a calming effect on Anko's personality. Okay, I'll help you out. But I won't give away anything other than the fact that she enjoys performing tea ceremonies. Kazama beamed at her with a wide smile. Thanks so much, he said, moving away from the breakfast bar and Kurenai. Wait, she called out to him. He turned around to face her. If you hurt her, I'll make you wish you were dead. Kazama didn't look perturbed in the slightest. Don't worry, I don't plan on it, he replied cheekily before once more turning around and exiting the building. He seems like a sweet guy. I hope that he and Anko hit it off. Unknown to her, once Kazama was out of her line of sight, he poofed away into a puff of smoke. Oh. Naruto stopped what he was doing to process the information that the clone got from Kurenai. She's into performing tea ceremonies. Weird. Naruto was holed up in his apartment acting like a hub of information on all the clones that he had to keep track of. Naruto dispelled the clone that was looking for Genma. It hadn't gotten really far at all. There was a loud knocking on his front door which diverted his attention away from the mission at hand. Naruto, open up. Sakura's voice shouted from outside his door. He quickly went to unlock and open the door to find a very pissed off Sakura standing in front of him. Where were you? She hissed out at him. Oh, I didn't send a shadow clone to tell you guys that I'd be taking a mission with my other sensei today, did I? Naruto said in realization. Nope. She ground out. Me and Sasuke were waiting forever for you to show up. I'm sorry. Is there an important mission that we're being assigned on? She sighed into the palm of her hand. No. Kakashi is still on that mission, so he sent one of his dogs to inform us of that. We waited for you to show up so we could tell you too. But you never came, she said vindictively. Again, I'm really sorry. But I'm kind of busy with the mission right now. You're on the mission. Right now. Yeah. Now if you'd please. Naruto trailed off, trying to get her to leave him to his seduction. Time was of the essence after all. What mission? It's a secret and I need to get back to it. Can I watch? Don't you have to go to the hospital to get some medical training? I'm scheduled for this afternoon. Why don't you ask Sasuke out on a date? Already did. He turned me down. I'm very sorry that he turned you down, but I need to get back to the mission now. Goodbye. Naruto tried to close the door, but Sakura blocked it with her foot. Is it a training mission? She asked innocently, smirking inwardly. Naruto took a deep breath before answering her. You aren't going to leave, are you? The blonde didn't really want his love interest to know about what he was learning. Hey, nope. Consider it payback for not telling me and Sasuke where you were. Naruto relented. Okay, fine. You can watch. But it's going to be boring for you. I don't care. Naruto opened the door for her and led her inside. Sakura looked around with a little bit on confusion on her brow. It's so clean, she whispered. Uh-huh. I did some spring cleaning. Naruto spawned 2 shadow clones. He pointed to the first one. Go to the library and find out anything and everything about what a tea ceremony is. He pointed to the second one. Follow him to find out what you need to do it, then buy all the materials available. Here's some money for it. Naruto told the clones, handing the second one no small amount of money. They immediately ran out the door to accomplish their tasks. Your special training with Anko is tea ceremonies? Sakura asked incredulously. No. That's just a part of it. Well, what is your training? It's Yua. Telling Sakura that was training in seduction probably wasn't the best of things to do. Learning how to date, he said with a wince. That sounded like the weirdest thing ever. Learning how to date, she parroted with a deadpan. Your super special training with your female sensei is learning how to date girls. This is the reason why you made me and Sasuke wait for an hour at mission assignment. Well, it's not just learning how to date. It's learning how to date other girls from foreign countries in order to obtain information from them by using their infatuation with me against them. Naruto said very quickly. So, like, seduction. If you want to call it that. Naruto said, relieved that Sakura came to that conclusion on her own. Why are you learning seduction? That isn't very useful. It can be useful. Well, I guess, if you use it correctly. But you don't really seem like the kind of person to do that. To seduce. Yeah, earning someone's trust only to break it immediately. I know that it could be used to get critical information to save the lives of our teammates, and that's a good thing. You just don't seem like the kind of person to do that. I have my reasons. Naruto said simply. He, in truth, did not want to do that. Even if they were the enemy, making a bond with someone and breaking it immediately did not sound appealing to him in the slightest. The only reason that Naruto wanted to do this was so he could get the romantic at heart merit and find out how he could get Sakura romantically interested in him. Everything else was just a means to do so. Although learning how to properly ask someone out on a date and learning how to maintain a date was also very handy information. Sure. Sakura said unsurely. So what is this mission about exactly? Well, first I have to obtain information about her. How? Eavesdrop. Talk to her friends. Go through her stuff. So like stalking. Yes. I've already got the information that I need. The only thing that's left is for me to learn about her interest, which is performing tea ceremonies, and keeping track of her location, which is being done by using a liberal of shadow clones. Who is it that you're seducing? My sensei. Okay. What then? Then I casually bump into her on the street and somehow get her to notice how much of a tea ceremony connoisseur I am. Then we talk a bit and I ask her out on a date to get coffee or something. This is weird. I know. Now the only thing left for me to do is to wait for the shadow clones that I just sent to get the items and information I need. You sound prepared for this. How long have you been practicing? After I left yesterday, she drilled me on how to do every aspect of seduction for a grand total of 7 hours. This is just testing me on how well I can use that information. 7 hours. How much stuff did you need to know that you trained for 7 hours? Other than how to do each step, I had to memorize lines that would be useful to court someone. Different ways to ask her out on a date, different questions to ask her on said date, different ways to imply that you are interested in going on another date, subtle ways to bring up the information that you are trying to extract. What information? For now, it's just some bogus stuff about the Hokage. When are you going to leave? As soon as my clone at the library pops and I get my tea ceremony gear. Oh. There are more than a few ways to get a girl to notice you. You could do something that makes you stand out from the crowd of other eligible bachelors, or you could do something that makes her think that the two of you have something in common. Do you want to tell me why the first one doesn't always work? Because not all attention is good attention. Good boy. You're learning. It's more effective to go with the latter option because if you do something that the other person likes, you'll naturally gravitate towards each other even if this wasn't a seduction. Kind of like how kids instinctually organize themselves into different social groups based on their likes and dislikes. If you manage to call attention to the fact that you two have something in common, more often than not, she'll confront you about it and make conversation. But what are you going to do? What do you mean? Even if you give me the benefit of the doubt tomorrow, you'll still know that someone is intentionally going to try and draw attention to something that you like. How do I know that you'll act the way you'd act if you didn't know that someone was trying to seduce you? Tomorrow's exercise is meant to determine your level, not mine. If you do the right thing, I'll approach you. If you do the wrong thing, I won't. Oh. Ah. There was a large clanging of various tea-making implements as they struck the floor of the Dango restaurant. Hey, watch where you go, Ing. Anko looked on in shock at the various items that were on the floor and at the man who was busy apologizing profusely and doing his best to pick them all up. I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. It's fine. She up from her booth to help pick up the tea-making tools that littered the floor. A tea whisk, a tea scoop, a shaken, a tea bowl. Yup, instruments for a tea ceremony. How did he hear about her enjoyment of tea ceremonies? The only person she'd told that to was Kurenai. There was also nothing laying around her apartment that could denote her affection of the ceremony. He shouldn't have been able to find out. Once they got all the items back into the bag that he dropped, she asked, "You a big fan of tea ceremonies?" Huh. Oh, I used to not be. My kid sister got me into them and they're surprisingly enjoyable. He said with a smile. What's your favorite, thin tea or thick tea? I personally prefer thick tea, but I like both. Why? Do you like them too? The tea ceremonies. I'm all about them. Really? There. Ahem. And old man interrupted. He was trying to get past them, but they were blocking the way. Oh, the young man said nervously, not knowing what to do. Anko sat down at the booth. Come on, sit down. He did as was asked, but still looked a little nervous. Are you waiting for anyone? I wouldn't want to be a bother. Oh, it's fine. My name's Anko. What's yours? Kazama. She looked him up and down. In a word, he was nondescript. Average height, nice build, good features, young body. A nice, average guy. Kazama. I like that name. So what do you like about tea ceremonies? He sighed wistfully. I don't know. They're just fun. I don't know how else to explain it. I like them. How about you? I like their pageantry, their elegance, their formalities. I don't know why I like those things, but they really call out to me. Oh, really? You sound surprised. I guess that I didn't think a trained shinobi would be into those types of things. As shinobi are people too, you know. Oh, I know. Don't worry. In fact, I trained in the academy when I was younger. What happened? You know the old story. My family fell on hard times. I had to help out in the shop. Couldn't be a ninja like I wanted to be. Oh, I'm sorry. It's fine. I like the life I have. But I've always wondered what it would be like if I was able to keep on attending the academy and become a shinobi. It's not all fun and games, you know. I know. But it still seems so liberating. Being able to pick your own timetable. Travel the world. Get lots of money for doing high-ranked mission. She laughed a little bit. Yeah, I guess it is pretty cool. And if anyone talks to you that you don't like, you can just pick up a knife and threaten them away. He laughed at her joke. Not overtly so, but enough to show that he derived genuine amusement from it. When he finished, Kazama said, I know that is kind of sudden, but would you like to get dinner sometime? I'll have to check my schedule. You free anytime this week? I'm kind of on a tight schedule on the moment. Maybe tonight. She seemingly lost interest in the train of conversation in favor of stretching all the kinks out of her body. He seemed confused by this sudden, lethargic action, but made no mention of it. Take off the transformation, she ordered once she had finished the stretching. Kazama's expression went from surprised to downtrodden in just a few seconds. With a poof, Naruto sat in the place that Kazama used to occupy. Did I do something wrong? He asked. Nope. In fact, you did everything right. I don't need to see any more. Does that mean that I'm good? Yup. If you need to go into a foreign country and need get a girl to make and retain an emotional bond with you in an effort to divulge secrets, you'll do just fine. But I didn't even get to the point where I ask you about the secret. Don't have to. You're a pretty good actor with good spying jutsu and you're able to think up things on the fly. You're golden for it. Thanks, sensei. Still, it kind of feels like 7 hours of memorization and drilling are going to waste. They aren't going to waste. You have them locked in your head. This exercise was meant to see if you could use the information given to you and you demonstrated that you could. There's no more need to go on. I guess that makes sense. Of course it does. I'm your sensei. So what do you want to work on now? You said something about trap detection. Yup. Now that's a good skill to learn. And seduction isn't. Trap detection is more likely to save your life in the field. And yet, you still lectured me for 7 hours on the ins and outs of seduction. If I'm going to teach something, I'm going to teach it well. Yeah, thanks for that by the way. Really, thank you for teaching you seduction. Did you really want to learn it that bad? Not seduction specifically. You're the first person to actually try and teach me seriously. And I'm just, thanks. Seriously, thanks. Anko reached over and tousled the blonde's hair. Don't worry about it, kid. Now, for you to learn about trap detection, I have to make some traps first. That means that we won't be able to work on it this afternoon. That's fine. I have to check up on some things anyway. Cool. Will you be able to get there at noon tomorrow? Uh-huh. Kakashi's on a mission right now, so I have some free time. The snake Jonin grabbed the remainder of her dango and smirked at him. See ya then. After saying that, she vanished in a puff of smoke. Oh. Naruto fell on top of his bed and brought out his book. He was close to getting the romantic at heart perk. The only thing left to do was to level up once more and get that merit point. Opening it up to the front page, it read. Achievement unlocked. Seduce, Anko 3000 Express, +10 Seduction, increased influence with Anko. Naruto closed the achievement window to look at his base stats. Naruto Uzumaki. Express. 126 7,000ths level ups available. Level 5. Chakra. 51. Chakra control. 21. Wisdom. 41. Intelligence. 13. Charisma. 51. Flexibility. 11. Speed. 13. Strength. 11. Endurance. 41. Naruto glanced at the level in slight confusion. Where did all the experience come from? A clone popped. Naruto winced and began to sort out the influx of information. It was a job clone. Apparently it finished a rather lucrative D-rank mission and got some money and experience for it. Naruto looked back down at the base stats. Naruto Uzumaki. Express. 726 7,000ths level ups available. Level 5. Chakra 51. Chakra control 21. Wisdom 41. Intelligence 13. Charisma 51. Flexibility 11. Speed 13. Strength 11. Endurance 41. Some of the jobs give experience. Shouldn't he instinctually know that? Weird. But at least this meant that he could get the romantic at heart merit now. Tapping on the level up, some more text popped up. You are now level 6. You have gained +5 base stat modifiers, +2 attribute modifiers, and +1 merit point. Naruto looked in consideration at his stats before putting all 5 base modifiers into his strength, raising it up to 16, and hitting confirm. All of his muscles locked up suddenly and with no forewarning. He felt them flexing out of control for several, very long and uncomfortable seconds. When it was over, he got up from his bed to test out his new body. Naruto turned and stretched himself out a bit. Looking at his arm, he had indeed obtained more muscle mass in that particular area, meaning that he could probably lift heavier things. Naruto patted down his torso and felt a little bit more muscle underneath the skin as well. Hey, cool. Naruto went to the attribute sections next to check on his seduction level. Seduction 35/50ths. So that meant that he definitely had enough seduction to unlock romantic at heart. But he had 22 more points to place and he didn't know where to place them. The blonde could put the rest into the 4 miscellaneous sections that he had increased 2 nights before, but he had done that mostly so that the training with Anko in the beginning wouldn't be as hard. Aside from the strength stat, he hadn't increased any of his combat abilities. So he decided that it would probably make sense to put it in taijutsu. He decided to bring his taijutsu form from a 13/200ths to a 35/200ths. With that done, he headed over to the merit section to buy the romantic at heart perk. Now, let's see what Sakura likes. Sakura Haruno. What Sakura thinks about you? Annoying, kind of weird. Sakura has no romantic feelings for you. She is not interested in starting a relationship. Romantic interests. Men who listen to me, men who are nice, men who enjoy the same things that I do, men who are strong and can take care of me, men who respect me. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Unknown. Naruto's sweat dropped. Other than being strong, Sasuke is the exact opposite of what she likes. He shook his head in confusion. Well, I have a merit that cost me 7 hours of lecturing and half a seduction mission. Might as well use it. I wonder what Anko likes. I could totally tease her about it tomorrow. Anko Mitarashi. What Anko thinks about you? Interesting, sincere, hardworking. Anko has little romantic feelings for you. She is not interested in starting a relationship. Romantic interests. Men who like for who I am instead of what I am. Men who can fight for themselves. Men who are nice. Men who are capable of forming their own opinions. Men who are interesting. Base stats. Unknown. Affinities. Mostly unknown. Well, I am officially confused. How is it that Anko has more romantic feelings for me than Sakura? Naruto mentally screamed. Mental sigh. Well, she has no interest in starting a relationship, so I guess that it shouldn't affect anything very much, which is good. Naruto got up from bed and checked out his property poster. Nothing had changed except for the fact that his money had increased to $3,012, not enough to buy the apartment that was next to him. It was early afternoon and Naruto didn't have much to do. Maybe I can practice throwing kunai. Naruto bent over to grab his ninja bag, only to feel some things that were lumpy and weird from its outside. He reached in to grab the unknown objects and brought out 2 new things. A small pamphlet and what looked like a binder. Naruto groaned. More things. He cracked open the binder first. The cover page read, Material Goods and Wealth Proliferation. This binder contains all of your properties, their values, their management, their profit, and so on. It also details all properties that are for sale in Konoha and the Elemental Stock Exchange. Asterisk. He flipped over to the next page, but it read, You have no items or extraneous properties of interest or value. Well, isn't that insulting? Naruto flipped over to the next page and was thoroughly confused once more. On it was a whole lot of line graphs that had strange acronyms and percent values that changed every couple of seconds. There wasn't even an explanation bubble, it just expected that Naruto already knew this. He tossed the binder to the side. I'm not going to need that for a while. Opening up the pamphlet, it read. Quest log. Quests are different from missions in that they can only be performed once and that they are all unique. They also usually have some sort of reward that will help you out later on. The reward will also only be given if it is initiated and done by you. No lumping the quest on another person or thing capable of doing so. Really? Cool. Wait, does this mean that I can't use shadow clones? Naruto flipped to the few pages. There were only a few of them at the moment. Quest. Teach Konohamaru Core how to do the substitution jutsu. Reward. +10 teaching skill, vastly increased influence with the Konohamaru Core. Quest. Help Genma to find his favorite Senbon. Reward. New skill. Senbon Jutsu, basic scroll on Senbon Jutsu. Quest. Help Ino man her family store. Reward. +10 gardening, +10 poison identification and synthesizing, +10 medicinal identification and synthesizing, basic medical and poison plants. Quest. Someone has stolen the Hokage's porn stash, bring the man to justice. Reward. $1,000, plain bow staff, basic scroll on Bojutsu. Naruto's sweat dropped. Old man, really? I get that you're a perv, but seriously. Well now what? It sounded like he couldn't use shadow clones to do any of them, so he has to do them himself. If any of the quests take any amount of significant time to accomplish, then it could interfere with his training with Anko. He did have the afternoon, however. He could probably do at least one of them by then. Naruto didn't know what Bojutsu was, so he passed on that. Nor did he have any actual gardening skills, or any idea of how to take care of plants. And it didn't sound like training the Konohamaru Core gave him anything good. He would probably do it at some point, because he's a good person like that. Senbon Jutsu sounded cool. Haku used them and nearly won on the Battle of the Bridge. Naruto tapped on Genma's mission. Another text box popped up and told him that the quest could only be accepted in Training Ground 5. Naruto pocketed the pamphlet and walked out the door in the direction of Training Ground 5. Oh 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 oh. Knock 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 knock. Kurenai walked to her door sedately to answer it. Hey Crimson-chan. Mind if I come in for a bit? Anko asked with a creepily smiling visage upon her face. That in itself wasn't all too unnatural for Anko, but her sickly sweet voice probably meant that she was pissed off about something. Oh, sure. Anko promptly walked inside and fell on the sofa, never ceasing that smile of hers. She didn't say anything after that, which creeped Kurenai out something fierce. Kurenai walked over and sat on the chair opposite Anko. Is there something wrong? She ventured. Let me see. Quick question. Did you perhaps tell anyone about my love of tea ceremonies? Oh shit. That wasn't good. There was this one guy, but he seemed sweet. Did you turn him down? Anko laughed a little. Kurenai, I haven't told you this, because it's a rather recent event. But I'm teaching a genin. Kurenai's eyes widened in surprise. You took on an apprentice? Nope. Just a kid that I'm teaching what I know to. So an apprentice. A student. Okay. What does this have to do with anything? The first thing that he suggested to learn was seduction. And what does? Kurenai said in realization. Yup. In a training exercise, I told him to mock seduce me and all he had to do was walk right up to you and ask for the ammunition. But he just seemed so genuine. Kurenai said for an excuse. Yup. Apparently he's a natural at it. I just want to clarify that you are to tell no one about my hobby. Okay. I've got it. I'm sorry. So who are you teaching? Naruto Uzumaki. The container of the Kyuubi. That's the one. Huh. So he did find a teacher. What do you mean? He was asking around the Jonin to see if any of them would teach him. But from what I've heard, no one accepted him. Even you. I'm busy with my own squad at the moment. I can't spare any time for other students. That's a shame. He's actually a pretty good student. But that's enough of that. How's it going with you and Asuma? Anko asked with a perverted leer. Nothing new. He's distant and hard to get a hold of. What about you? What about me? Any new romantic conquests? Nope. You know me, I only try to start a relationship with people I can stand. And I don't stand many people. The only people that you try with are people who are mentally and emotionally scarred. Remember your date with Kakashi. Anko growled a little bit at the mention of him name. Yeah, I remember. So who do you recommend? Genma. Stop trying to make that happen. It's not going to happen. But you two would look so sweet together. No, we wouldn't. I can only see him as a friend and he can only see me as a friend. Don't you even remember that get together that you tried to orchestrate? That was when you were Genin. You're all grown up now. That was before. Anko cut herself off mid-sentence. Kurenai was rendered slightly speechless. Look, Anko. I'm sorry. It's fine. Anko interrupted. Just don't tell anyone about the tea ceremony thing. Okay. With that, Anko got up and made to the door. Anko. The slamming of her front door cut Kurenai off before she could even start. She's still sensitive about it, I guess. Quest. Help Ino man her family store. Reward. +10 gardening. +10 poison identification and synthesizing. +10 medicinal identification and synthesizing, basic medical and poison plants. Naruto was at the cash register helping to scan the items, accept the money, take out the correct change, and wish the customer a happy day. It was monotonous work that helped the time to pass by quickly. He didn't know why the store was so packed full of men and women trying to buy either their choice of flowers, or flowers that were recommended for them by the resident Yamanaka, Ino. This reason is why she needed help running the store. She couldn't ring people up for their flowers and help to suggest flowers to others in unique situations at the same time. Isn't it just so lucky that the resident loud-mouthed, impatient, unpredictable Uzumaki Naruto was there to help her out? Luckily she was desperate enough to accept help from anyone at the time. Soon enough though, 2 hours to be exact, the amount of people entering the store trickled to a crawl and Naruto was sitting bored behind a cash register. When it was only him and Ino sitting in the room quietly, she decided to speak up. Thanks Naruto. You wouldn't believe how busy it is today, or how busy it was yesterday. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not usually the type to just not help out someone when they're in trouble. Still, you were behind that register for like 2 hours. You should probably receive pay for work rendered. Seriously, I'm fine. But isn't this cutting in your training time with your sensei, Anko? She said to report in at noon, so wait. How do you know that I'm being taught by her? Sakura came by my place last night to talk. By the way, what's up with you taking seduction classes? She told you. Yeah, did you not want anyone to know? It would have been preferred. Oops, sorry. She went through the motions of zipping her lips. Don't worry, your secret is safe with me. So come on, let the beans spill. Why are you taking seduction classes? I'm not taking them anymore. Naruto said defensively. Not a good fit then. What am I talking about? Of course it's not a good fit. You're Naruto. You don't do seduction. The reason that I'm not taking those classes anymore is because I don't have to. What do you mean by that? Anko says that I'm good enough. Good enough for what? Good enough for you to mind your own business. She rose her hands up to torso level in defense. Alright, I'm sorry. I probably stepped over the line, huh? No, I'm just scared that people are going to assume things if they hear that I took those lessons. Seriously, he really should have thought that decision through a little bit more. You shouldn't worry about that. If what you said is true, then even if people do find out, it should blow over soon. Oh wait, your new teacher is Anko. You're going to be learning about poison stuff soon, right? Yeah. Do you know her? She works in the intelligence area that my dad works in. Hold on, I'll be right back. Ino ran into the back room to get something. After a fair bit of rummaging around, she brought out a couple of plants. One looked like a normal flower with a bell-like bulb shape with a few 6-petal flower heads on the tops and sides of it, while the other looked like a normal fern. These are Narcissus and the lady fern. Narcissus is fairly toxic when ingested, and the lady fern helps to soothe pain in small cuts and bruises when it's all mashed up. If you're learning under Anko, then you're learning with poisonous and medical plants. You should keep these. We have tons of them lying around in the back. Really? Awesome. This is great. Thanks, Ino. Naruto said, gingerly lifting the plants from Ino's arms. Give the Narcissus a moderate amount of water each day and the lady fern a lot of water each day. Cool. Thanks for the help, Ino. I'll be back tomorrow morning to see if you still need help. See ya then. Thanks again for the help. A text box popped up in front of Naruto. Quest completed. Help Ino man her family store. Naruto exited the store and handed the 2 plants to a shadow clone which he created, then went in the direction of the academy. Konohamaru and company needed help with the substitution jutsu, and as their boss, he felt it was his duty to inform them about it. Yesterday he had found out that although quests have to be initiated and completed by the original Naruto, clones could help out in the in-between. Granted, he only found that out after getting tired of scouring a training ground for a single, useless Senbon and deciding that not getting the Senbon skill was worth the risk of finding out if he could use shadow clones to help out with quests. 5 hours later, even with the help of shadow clones, he got the scroll and the skill from Genma. Naruto still didn't know if the mechanics of the game that he was in was affecting the real world, or if it was the other way around. But seeing as Ino decided that his reward was to be poisonous and medical plants due to his relationship with his sensei, he was leaning on the latter. Currently, he had 5 clones working on jobs, 1 clone working on medical training, which was going swimmingly, 1 clone working on the Senbon training, and 1 clone maintaining his house. Naruto also had a problem. After using his merit point to get the romantic at heart merit, he was down an achievable goal. After scouring the merit section for other things that he could look forward to, he came to the conclusion that the vast majority of all of those points were useless. It was full of things that he either had absolutely no use for, like the broker's guile, which gave him a significant boost in property management. Things that he had absolutely no ways of obtaining, like the lighting rod, which made him a complete badass and gave him complete control of the lightning element, but required that he had 200/200ths lightning element manipulation. He still didn't know what elemental manipulation was. There were also the things that people would question about. Hey Naruto, how is it that you can now suddenly grow bones out of your body? Hey Naruto, how is it that you suddenly awakened the Sharingan in your eyes? Hey Naruto, how is it that you can shit gold now? If Naruto was going to make any of those goals a reality, he was going to have to talk to the third. Not a conversation that he was particularly looking forward to. Hey Gramps, guess what? Back in Wave, my life got turned into a video game. Now I can awaken the Sharingan if I want to. Naruto respected and loved the third like a grandfather, but he also knew that he was the leader of a legion of ninjas and would probably not believe that Naruto was who he said he was if he suddenly brought that thing out to light. So Naruto was down to trying to level up to boost his base stats. But he wasn't even able to do that effectively. The book explained it that he would get experience from fighting. It's not like he can just walk down the street and challenge someone to a ninja duel. Those things just don't happen. So he was stuck trying to get experience the way that he suspected the game just threw in to give him a bone, by getting achievements and completing missions. The quests didn't even give experience, but they usually evened it out by rewarding him something that couldn't be valued with experience points, things like skills, or increased influence amongst the population's various individuals. But that doesn't matter right now. Naruto had to concentrate on completing the quests at the moment. 10:45 a.m. Quest. Teach Konohamaru Core how to do the substitution jutsu. Reward. +10 teaching skill, vastly increased influence with the Konohamaru Core. Yeah boss. You're the best. Thanks so much for helping us out. Konohamaru said excitedly with the rest of the core behind him in their adulations. Don't worry about it too much. I'm just doing my duty as your boss. Naruto said with no small amount of pride in his voice. Now, to start out, aha. Naruto created a clone which immediately transformed into a small chair. To start with the substitution jutsu, it's easier to first start out with a simple, unmoving object much like this one. The core nodded their heads in wonder. Now, to do the jutsu, you first have to do the hand seals to collect and mold your chakra for you, then you have to reach your chakra out towards the object, then you have to release all the chakra that you've been storing in your body all in one go. I wanna go first. Konohamaru said. Naruto gestured to the chair. When you're ready. Okay, I've got this. Konohamaru started bouncing up and down while shaking his limbs back and forth in an effort to get psyched up. Once he reached maximum psych, he pulled his hands into the correct hand seals and started to concentrate as hard as he could on the task. Soon there were small blue sparks that lit up around him, denoting intense chakra shaping going on. Substitution. Konohamaru shouted out as loud as he could. Both he and the chair were still stuck in the same place as before. RRRGG. Konohamaru growled out dismally. It helps if you imagine reaching out an arm made of chakra in the direction of the object and grabbing hold of it. I wanna try. I wanna try. Moegi said cheerfully. Remember, chakra arm. Yeah, Moegi said with a nod. She created the required hand seals and scrunched her brow up really hard in concentration. Sparks of blue chakra began to form around her, but they moved at a far more languid pace than Konohamaru's. Substitution. Moegi said in a calm voice. She had the same results that Konohamaru did, despite her efforts. Ah, Moegi said desperately. Naruto started to think about the reasons why they weren't getting this concepts very well. He had practically mimicked what the academy teachers had told him when he and the rest of his class were learning substitution. But then again, he grasped the concept of the substitution jutsu slightly faster than everyone in his class. What else could he tell them to help them out? Oh, one more thing. Try to concentrate on your chakra flow and stabilize it when you're reaching out. The problem might stem from the fact that you aren't using enough control. Naruto said with a smug look on his face. He remembered how Sakura had told him about the concentration of chakra thing back in Wave to help him out with his exercise. It had helped exponentially back there, so it made sense that it would help here. Udon was the next to step up to plate. Going through the hand seals, he took far longer to release the chakra that he built up than the others. But it paid off in that when he did release, he disappeared in a puff of smoke and replaced the chair clone in its position. After realizing what he had done, the young boy began to jump up and down in joy. Great job, Udon, Naruto said ecstatically. Now you too, try focusing your chakra more before letting go. Right. They both cried out in mock salute. After a few more failed attempts, they were all capable of doing the substitution after about 30 seconds of intense concentration. Remember guys, enemy shinobi aren't going to let you wait around for 30 seconds to do your escape jutsu. Being able to do the jutsu and being able to do the jutsu well enough to the point where it would be useful in battle are two very different things. So keep training with the jutsu. Right. They all shouted, once more in mock salute. Quest completed. Teach Konohamaru Core how to do the substitution jutsu. 11 o'clock. Quest. Someone has stolen the Hokage's stash, bring the man to justice. Reward. $1,000. Plain bow staff, basic scroll on bojutsu. Naruto looked around the village proper intently. He didn't even know what he was looking for, but he guessed that he'd know it when he saw it. There was a flash of a man hurrying through the crowd with no tact at all. He was nondescript for the most part except for the fact that he was carrying a bundle of books under his arm. It was a large bundle of books. Naruto's sweat dropped. Gramps. Naruto jumped up from the rooftop and ran after the man on foot. He looked tired and nervous, nothing like a professional spy from another nation would be expected to act. Naruto created 5 shadow clones and surrounded him with no hope of him getting away. The man stopped directly in the middle of the surrounding of shadow clones and began to shake nervously. Yo, what's up? Is that perchance the stash of the? Yes, it is. Just take it. This has given me nothing but trouble all day long. The man handed it off to one of the clones and ran out of the circle, looking over his shoulder all the way. Naruto's sweat dropped. Well, that was easier than I expected. Might as well deliver this to Gramps. Oh. Look, I just need to drop this thing off on him. Well, if you don't have a meeting, you won't be able to get inside. The secretary huffed at him with an irritated tone of voice. Is that right? So I can't deliver this stuff to him even though he's already here. Fascinating. Naruto said with an airy voice. Hey Gramps, I have your stash. Come down and get it or else it goes to the fire. Naruto belted out at the top of his lungs in the middle of the waiting room to see the Hokage in administration. An Anbu melted out of the shadows and wordlessly took the bundle from Naruto and handed him a bow staff, a small scroll, and a small bundle of $100 bills. Quest completed. Someone has stolen the Hokage's stash, bring the man to justice. Naruto's sweat dropped. This quest was weird. Naruto walked out administration and took out his quest log pamphlet thing to check off all the quests. There were 2 new ones. Quest. Hide Kiba. Reward. Enormously increased influence with Kiba. Quest. Find Kiba. Reward. Increased influence with Hana and Sume Inuzuka. There are missions that go against each other. Okay. That's weird. So I guess that I can't take both of them. I don't know who Hana and Sume are, so I guess that it's time to save the mutt. 11:30. I can't thank you enough, man, Kiba said in a hushed tone of voice from Naruto's closet. He was nearly naked, only wearing a pair of boxers. Yeah, don't worry about it. Why are they chasing you anyways? Naruto asked with wary eyes. There was a failure to communicate, Kiba said vaguely. Akamaru barked in agreement. Naruto decided not to comment and began to shut the closet door. Just as it was about to close all the way, there was frantic knocking at the door. Oh shit, Kiba whispered. Naruto opened up the closet and grabbed Akamaru roughly, then closed the door. It's going to be fine, Naruto yelled, whispered. The knocking at the door intensified by the time that Naruto reached it. Opening it up got Naruto face to face with a teenage girl with an extremely irritated look on her face. She was wearing spandex shorts and a top that was covered by a partially zipped down ninja vest. She also had the Inuzuka defining characteristics of double fang marks on her cheeks and slightly pointed canines. Is Kiba here? She asked gruffly. No. Why? You looking for him? His scent leads here. Naruto drew attention to Akamaru, who was in his arms. He shoved his dog on me, then took off. She growled to herself. I didn't think that he was so crafty as to split his scent on various paths. I wouldn't know about that. You want your dog back, he said, pushing Akamaru forward, who did his best to squirm away from the enraged female. Akamaru is Kiba's dog. He's probably going to stop by soon to get him back though. If you do me a favor, when he does, knock him out or something and take him back to the Inuzuka compound. I don't know if I want to get involved in a clan dispute, Naruto said nervously. Well, isn't it unfortunate that you did? She said ominously before backing away from the door. Naruto closed the door and walked to the half-open closet. Shoving Akamaru back to Kiba, Naruto said, You have 2 hours until I kick you out. Think up a plan or something, then leave. If you don't, I'm going to the Inuzuka compound to tell everyone where you are. Kiba gave a thumbs up. Cool. Quest completed. Hide Kiba. 12 o'clock. Forest of Death. Sorry for the lack of notice, kid, but I'm going to be on a mission for a few days. Lucky for you, I'm the best teacher in the whole goddamned world. I got you a few scrolls on trap setting and trap detection. Count yourself lucky. Scrolls containing information on ninja techniques are hard to come by nowadays, and I just happened to have a friend who had a couple of these that I could borrow. I also set the forest chock full of some traps. Don't die. One last thing. If you tell anyone about how I like tea ceremonies, I will kill you. Love, your awesome sensei. Naruto dropped her scroll back where he picked it up and spawned a few clones. He handed off the Bojutsu staff and scroll to one, and the scrolls containing the trap setting and detection to another few. Looks like he had some more time to kill now that he didn't have access to Anko. His stomach grumbled loudly, reminding him that he hadn't had lunch yet. He'd figure out what to do after a few bowls at Ichiraku's. 12:15. Random encounter. Help Fujitsu, and Takana find food. Reward. +20 Jinchuriki Jutsu control, +20 Jinchuriki Jutsu shape manipulation. Naruto stopped in his tracks to stare at the pop-up window that had come into being directly in front of him while he was walking down a crowded road. Who are Fujitsu, and Takana? And why would helping them out give me better control over Fuzzy Butt's chakra? Just as he finished the thought, there was a loud exclamation of hunger from directly behind him. And I'm telling you, Takana, I'm not eating sushi. A voice that obviously belonged to a male rang out. Well, it's a whole lot better than Katsudon, she replied belligerently. Naruto turned around to get a good look at them. The male, who he assumed was Fujitsu, was an average-looking guy with glasses upon his head being the only thing that stood out. A female, who he assumed was Takana, was as average-looking as Fujitsu with a sash that contained vials of different fluids being the only object that stood out on her person. But there was another girl that was walking right behind them and remaining silent for the most part. Guessing that her name was Fu, she was dark-skinned and wearing a white miniskirt with a white mid-cut halter top along with cut-off arm warmer sleeve things. There was a mesh weave covering her thighs and upper torso, and she also had green hair and orange eyes. They all had the forehead protectors of a village that he hadn't seen before. Oi, you three, what are you doing here in Konoha? Naruto said amicably, jumping into their conversation. Huh, Fujitsu said distractedly. Oh, we're here for the Chunin exams. And we're hungry, but this guy won't man up and eat some sushi. Takana said. It's disgusting. He retorted. Katsudon is what's disgusting. Katsudon is great. They continued to argue like that until Naruto had to interject again. How about ramen? He ventured. Getting them to eat at Ichiraku's would be like killing two birds with one stone. They both shut their mouths in sync and slowly turned their heads to look at the other. I could go for some ramen. Fujitsu stated. I don't see why not. Takana said. What about you? Naruto asked Fu. She clammed up and started to nervously murmur words incomprehensibly. Fujitsu and Takana took notice of this and answered for her. She'd love to. Fujitsu said. Naruto nodded at this with an unsure expression on his face and bade them to follow him to the ramen place. I didn't know that Konoha shinobi were so hospitable. Fujitsu said in an attempt to make conversation. Oh yeah, we're all great here. Unless you meet up with a guy whose hair looks like a duck's, he's an asshole. Or a certain perverted scarecrow, he's useless for conversation. Or a couple of guys decked out fully in green, they're freaks. Or you meet up with a purple-haired chick who loves dango, she's a psychopath. In fact, I think that I'm one of the very few sane people who live here. So count yourself lucky. He chuckled somewhat nervously. I'll keep that in mind. So what is this ramen place? It's called Ichiraku's. Serves some of the best ramen around here. In fact, I was on my way there when I bumped into you guys. Is it pricey? Takana asked. Not really. They all continued their inane conversation up until they reached the small ramen stand. Ayame's and Tyuki's eyes widened in surprise at the face of their number one customer with his new friends. Hey Naruto, did you bring some new customers? Ayame asked cheerfully. Yup. This is Fujitsu, Takana, and Fu. He gestured to each in turn. Well, what can I get for you guys? Tyuki asked amiably. Miso ramen. Naruto answered. Seafood ramen. Takana answered. Chicken ramen. Fujitsu said. Miso ramen. Fu stated after a little bit of deliberation. I'll get right on it. Tyuki said, getting going on the noodles and broth. Fujitsu and Takana turned to each other and started conversing in somewhat argumentative tones. From his walk to Ichiraku, he came to the conclusion that they weren't aggressive, belligerent people. They just liked arguing with each other. It was kind of like seeing a married couple go back and forth. It could go on for hours at a time or seconds, but it didn't really matter because there was no actual aggression behind their words. Deciding to leave them to their devices, he turned to Fu for conversation. So what do you think of Konoha? He asked. It's big, she said slowly. Sure is. Your village isn't very large. Nope. Not on this level. Not even close. Naruto stared directly at her eyes, which unnerved her slightly. Are you wearing contacts? He asked. No. My orange eyes are genetic, I've been told. Been told. Yeah, I'm an orphan. She said with an even tone of voice. Oh really? I'm an orphan too. Naruto said with a foxy grin. Seriously. What happened to them? They died in the Kyuubi attack. What about yours? They died in the Nanabi attack. There was a sudden rise in the pitch of Takana's and Fujitsu's argument, which died down quickly. What's up with those two? Naruto asked in a hushed tone. She smirked in slight amusement. They've always been like that. There's a common joke running around our village that those two are destined to get married and give each other aneurysms on their honeymoon. Naruto chuckled. He could definitely see that happening. What about you? What about me? Do you have any friends like that? She brushed some stray strands of hair out of her eyes. No, not really. People in my village don't really like me. Why not? You seem pretty cool. Fu clammed up a little bit. I can't tell you. Well, that was a worrying way of phrasing a remark. Why not? Because, I can't. But it's not something that's my fault. She said quickly. After a few seconds of intense thinking, Naruto gave her the biggest smile that he had. Her situation sounded remarkably similar to his after all. He was fairly certain that she wasn't of any serious threat, and as such, didn't feel like it was a good idea to treat her as such. It's fine if you don't want to tell me. I'm just a foreign shinobi in a big village. In fact, it'd be weird if you did want to tell me. She smiled back at him. She opened her mouth to talk some more, but was interrupted by the arrival of her order. Eat up, Ayame said with a smile. Random encounter. Completed. Help Fujitsu, and Takana find food. Oh. 1 o'clock. Random encounter. Help Onoki get to cage administration. Reward. +5 politics, +10 elemental fire manipulation, +10 earth manipulation, +10 wind manipulation. There was a large crowd gathering around a strange group of people. The group of people consisted of an androgynous teen, a large man with childish features and a big head, a large man with masculine features and a prominent jaw, and a small, elderly man who was crouching in pain and not capable of moving. See Gramps, this is what happens when you try to walk around like that. The andro teen said chidingly. Kuretsuchi, don't tease your grandfather. The man with the prominent jaw remarked. I don't need my son to defend me. The old man said from the ground. Then he gasped in pain as he tried to unsuccessfully get up from his position on the ground. Naruto quickly walked up to the motley crew. Do you need help? He asked in concern. The old man tried to wave Naruto away with the excuse of, I don't need any of your help, kid, even though he was still having trouble even standing at that point. Naruto's eyes slanted in annoyance. After doing a few hand seals, his hands lit up with the mystical palm technique. Naruto knelt down behind the stubborn elderly and placed his palms in the middle of his back. What are you doing, brat? The old man said, trying to brush him off. I'm healing you. Now shut up and take it with dignity, you old fart. Naruto said with a pissed off tone. Onoki was so shocked at the attitude and tone of voice that Naruto held, that he didn't bother saying anything else. The same went for the rest of the 3 compatriots who were with him. Naruto bit his lip. Damn it. The mystical palm technique only went as far as the user was able to take it. Meaning that even with his large amounts of studying and hands-on training back at the hospital, he wasn't capable of setting a man's back straight using only chakra. The most he could do was to nullify the pain. Onoki sighed in relief at the contact of the medical chakra on his back. Once Naruto did all that he could do, he stood up and addressed him. I'm not able to set your back right, so you still won't be able to walk. I suggest that you see an actual chiropractor as opposed to a student who's practicing. I never asked to see you. He said vindictively. Naruto quirked his eyebrow. Oh really? Really now? Are you saying that you want me to unblock your nerve endings? Because blocking nerve endings in a particular area is hard and I don't think that you appreciate it very much. Onoki said nothing. Where were you headed? Naruto asked him. Administration. The man with the prominent jaw said. Could you point us the way? Naruto did him one better and spawned a clone, who placed the quarreling old man upon his back for transportation. I don't need a trolley. The old man shouted at the original. I don't know what a trolley is, but somehow I feel like you really do need it. Naruto said, starting to walk away. Kuretsuchi and Akatsuchi looked on in wonder at the kid who probably has the largest balls in the world to talk to the Tsuchikage like that. Did that just happen? Kuretsuchi asked her imposing opposite. I think it did. Akatsuchi replied. The andro teen smirked and laughed a bit. I can't believe it. Oi! You two! Get over here! Kitsuchi yelled back at them. Onoki grumbled indistinctly in their general direction, still in a bad mood at being hefted around like luggage. Random encounter. Completed. Help Onoki get to cage administration. 130. Random encounter. Find B. Reward. +20 Jinchuriki Jutsu control, +20 Jinchuriki Jutsu shape manipulation. What is up with all of these random encounters? And who's B? Hey you. A voice languidly called to him. Naruto turned to face a dark-skinned kid his age who was wearing the standard Kumo fatigues and was sucking on a lollipop. Have you seen a big black guy who was wearing sunglasses come around here? Yellow-white dreadlocks, only talks in rhymes, has a tattoo of 2 bison horns on his face. Naruto sighed and created 20 shadow clones. Fan out. Naruto said simply to them. Omoi looked at the dispersing shadow clones nervously. What's going on with the clones? Once one of them finds your sensei, it'll dispel and I'll know where it is. Omoi looked uncomfortable at the notion. You don't have to do that. I was just wondering if you've seen him. I haven't, but I will soon. Naruto said to him. You here for the Chunin exams too? Omoi nodded. MMHMM. Once we got here, my sensei took off. So now me and my team are looking for him. Are the Chunin exams this big of a deal? It's still like 5 days away. Yeah, they usually are, but apparently this one's going to be different. Do you know how? Nope. The only thing I know is that's supposed to be some experiment. Random encounter. Completed. Find B. He's at a karaoke bar about 5 blocks away that way. Naruto said suddenly, pointing to the direction where B was. Omoi nodded and took off in that direction. Oh. 6 o'clock. Naruto closed the door to his apartment behind him. No more quests to complete. No more random encounters to his knowledge. Just rest. Something caught the corner of his eye. He looked at his ninja bag that was resting in the corner. It was bulging at the seams with what appeared to be a huge cookbook of some kind. Naruto groaned. I thought I was done with these sorts of things. Tugging off the bag from the book, he was able to read the front cover of it. The Anarchist's Cookbook. The Anarchist's Cookbook. Forging. You have no skills in forging whatsoever. Tailoring. You have no skills in tailoring whatsoever. Carpentry. You have no skills in carpentry whatsoever. Cooking. Eggs. Mastery level 10 50ths. Toast. Mastery level 23 50ths. Instant ramen. Mastery level 50-50. Tap for mutation options. Pizza. Mastery level 1/50th. Rice. Mastery level 5/50ths. Drinks from mix. Mastery level 45/50ths. Painting. You have no skills in painting whatsoever. Sculpting. You have no skills in sculpting whatsoever. The entirety of the Anarchist's Cookbook fit onto one page. Considering that the entire thing was about the size of a large cookbook, Naruto came to the conclusion he was intended to learn how to make a lot of things. The blonde, however, did not really care about how much he was supposed to learn at the moment, because he was too busy tapping on the mutation option for the instant ramen. Congratulations, you have learned how to do a skill to the level where you have earned a mutation point for that particular skill set. Mutation points give you a variety of options to choose from. Whether they be new skills, new recipes, better and new interesting ways of crafting your object, and so on and so forth. Asterisk. Instant ramen. Description. It's not that hard, just pour some hot water into the cup and wait a few minutes. Ta-da! You have some very not nutritious food in your hands. Available mutations. No time to wait. I'm a man of action. The polishing of the diamonds. New recipe. Homemade ramen. Naruto tapped on each of the mutations to see what they did. No time to wait. I'm a man of action. Removes the required 2-minute wait time for your instant ramen to cool. The polishing of the diamonds. Your instant ramen now has the taste and nutrition of restaurant ramen. New recipe. Homemade ramen. You are given the knowledge of how to create ramen from scratch. You know, homemade meals go a long way wink. Mutations are given when I reach the max level of a skill. Does this mean I can get a mutation from seduction, or is it only in the cookbook? He could figure that out later. What mattered now was choosing the mutation. Getting instant ramen is cool and all, but instant ramen that tastes like Ichiraku's is way better. Then again, if I learn how to make homemade ramen, I could get good at it enough to the point where I could get a cooler mutation. Yup, that settled it. Naruto tapped on the new recipe. Option. The cooking section of the book now read. Cooking. Eggs. Mastery level 10 50ths. Toast. Mastery level 23 50ths. Instant ramen. Mastery level 50-50. Mutation gained. Homemade ramen. Mastery level 0 50ths. Pizza. Mastery level 1 50th. Rice. Mastery level 5 50ths. Drinks from mix. Mastery level 45 50ths. Naruto tried to conjure up homemade ramen's required ingredients and recipe steps mentally, and was able to remember them immediately. It was just sort of, there now. Where there was none, there is some. This game sure is weird. Naruto concluded. If I can make enough ramen, That should boost my homemade ramen skill, right? Naruto spawned a clone and instructed it with making as much ramen as it possibly could. It then ran directly out the door to get the necessary ingredients. Naruto closed the book and set it on his kitchen table for future reference, then went to check on his stats in the guidebook. Base stats. Naruto Uzumaki. Express. 1026 7000 level 6. Chakra. 51. Chakra control. 21. Wisdom. 41. Intelligence. 13. Charisma. 51. Flexibility. 11. Speed. 13. Strength. 16. Endurance. 41. Attribute stats. Ninjutsu. Learning rate 5200ths. Elemental affinities. Wind 4200ths x2. Fire 5200ths by 0.5. Earth 10/200ths. Water 10/200ths. Lightning 0/200ths. Genjutsu. Learning rate 9/200ths. Detection 9/200ths. Dispel 8/200ths. Taijutsu. Learning rate 28/200ths. Pain tolerance 33/200ths. Form 35/200ths. Senjutsu. Not available. Kenjutsu. Learning rate 0/200ths. Form 0/200ths. Versatility 0/1000ths. Close range weapons. Bojutsu 2/150ths. Throwing weapons. Kunai and Shuriken 80/100ths. Senbon 2/150ths. Jinchuriki Jutsu. Control 42/1000ths. Shape manipulation 41/1000ths. Medical ninjutsu. Learning rate 12/200ths. Ability 24/100ths may be limited by current chakra control. Naruto's eyes were mostly drawn to the newly made medical ninjutsu section in his guidebook. It hadn't been there before when Naruto went to check on it. Then again, whenever Naruto went to check on the guidebook, he never perused it for amusement. It was always just to check up on what he needed to check up on. There was also the addition to the Kenjutsu section in the form of 2 new sections dubbed Close Range Weapons and Throwing Weapons that expanded to show Bojutsu, Kunai and Shuriken, and Senbon. Naruto looked at the Kunai and Shuriken skill with squinted eyes. Okay. I know that skill wasn't there before. Why is it there now? Naruto leaned his head back and sighed a long sigh. Although he was doing his best trying to cope with this thing, and he was learning a lot from his new sensei, he was also very confused by the entire situation that he was in and really needed guidance. Guidance that was dangerous to obtain in his current situation. Naruto looked at the clock. 6:15. Late enough to where he felt like it would be a waste of time to go out and train himself, but early enough to where he felt like he would be wasting time not doing anything. Perhaps he should read something. Like a book on RPGs or something. He was stuck in one. So it would be for the best if he got some knowledge in how to prosper in this weird game world. Well, it wasn't a game world, not really. It was more like he was suddenly turned into the protagonist of a video game while also retaining his self and his world. Kind of hard to categorize though. Naruto had played some RPGs, but he didn't have the patience to strategize and thusly failed at almost every single one of them. Maybe he could ask for some advice from a gamer. But that would require him knowing a gamer first, so that plan was out the window. Naruto pulled at his hair in frustration. He had so many options available to him, but they weren't available for him to use. Not if he didn't want people to start asking questions. Naruto let go of his hair and went to his room so he could check up on his money situation. $4,239. Compared to some of the prices that went on the market for large housing, the rate at which he got money would be far too little for him to ever think of buying anything of any actual value. If he was going to increase the rate at which he obtained capital, he was going to have to use more shadow clones to do more jobs. Of which, he couldn't do because he didn't want to overtax his mental faculties too much. There was also the fact that the mission directors didn't want to send him on any more chores because he was hogging them all from other teams. If any more missions were to be taken up, then the teams would have to go without. Not a good thing apparently. Naruto eyed the property management and wealth proliferation binder cautiously. He had discarded it at first because it seemed far too complicated for him to get into, but it might be worth it to take another look at it. Picking it up, he set it down on a table and sat down in front of it to crack it open and look inside. If Naruto was going to figure out how the Elemental Nations stock exchange was going to work, he was going to have be comfortable to do it. So he spawned a shadow clone and instructed it to get him some lemonade. Going past his current property, which was still none, he came once more to the stock exchange and was once more assaulted with visual cues of utter nonsense. Deciding to get a look at it at a micro level at first, he tapped on a chart to see what it would do. It expanded and became much more detailed. It had a line that zigged and zagged up and down in a random and unpredictable manner. It appeared that the line was on the upward trend, however. On a small button at the bottom of the page, there was an option that simply stated, buy 0 shares of KGS. Naruto trepidatiously tapped the 0 and moved it upwards to 1. There was a small confirmation at the bottom of the screen that told him, would you like to buy 1 shares of KGS for $11? Yes, no. Seeing as he was only sinking $11 into the experiment, he more confidently tapped the yes option. A new text box popped up in the corner of the screen. Your stock shares. Naruto tapped on it and was met with another screen. Amount company trend. 1 Kyrgyzstani som 1.21 upwards. Sell 0. Naruto experimentally tapped on the sell button and successfully sold the share that he bought not 30 seconds ago. You have sold 1 shares of KGS for $12. So wait, I buy something for less money, then I sell it for more money. That makes a lot more sense than I thought it would. Naruto rubbed the palms of his hands together dubiously. These next 30 minutes would be fun and profitable, he reckoned. 30 minutes later. The last 30 minutes were not fun and profitable for Naruto as it turned out. After realizing the base concepts of the stock exchange, he bought $2,000 worth of stock from a company called IGS, which plummeted in value almost as soon as he bought it. After waiting for it to come back up for a few minutes, he decided to cut his losses and sold what he had, making him lose almost $1,000. Experiencing why the stock market was such a risky venture was a good thing for Naruto overall, because it taught him to be far more careful with his money than he would have been. Since then, he carefully put his money towards stock that seemed less risky in nature. The rest of the time was spent with him getting about $1,000 back through various expenditures and profits. And after all that, he still didn't know what the stock market was. He just saw some buttons that bought things, then some buttons that sold them at a different, and hopefully higher, price. Once he had all the money back that he lost, he decided to flip the paper onto the next page where there was a map of Konohagakure that had small bubbles dotted all around it. Tapping one, the bubble expanded and text popped up onto it. Hachiman's Tailor and Mending Services. Cost. $2,000. Description. A very small shop that caters to people's very basic clothing and mending needs. Unlocks. Tailoring services, tailoring teaching, tailor recipes. Profit. $50 per day. Naruto rose an eyebrow. Why would I buy something that cost $2,000 and only gets me $50 a day? He tapped on a different property. Luxury cinema. Cost. $1,500,000. Description. A cinema that caters to the needs of the upper class. All movie premieres in Konoha happen here, and draws famous actors and directors alike from around the world to try and get their movie placed here. Unlocks. Nothing. Profit. $100,000 per week. Fluctuates based on the movie market. The gears in Naruto's head began to turn. So if I buy the small tailoring place for $2,000, and it gets me $50 every day, then, it should get paid back in, like, 5 or 6 weeks. That's a long time, but it would get paid back eventually, and I can also learn more about tailoring. Though I'm not sure how much I would need tailoring, whatever, shadow clones. Might as well learn it. Naruto tapped the confirmation prompt on buying the tailor shop. It's not like he had much else to buy with his money. After checking the other property bubbles, he realized that none of them were in his price range anymore. Naruto leaned back and smiled. At least he sorted that piece of his life out. Oh. The next day, noon, Naruto was dangling upside down from a rope trap that was attached to a tree. Both of his legs were caught in it. He could easily bend upwards and cut the rope, making him fall down to his safety, but he merely resigned himself to his fate and closed his eyes. His body ached. His head ached. His spirituality ached. His body ached because of the gauntlet of traps that Anko was making him go through. His head ached because of the shadow clones that were popping every now and again. His spirituality ached due to the fact that he didn't know how to get Sakura to like him. Even if he could feel himself rapidly improving as a shinobi because of this game that he was placed into, if given the chance, he would go to his old life in a heartbeat. It was just easier and less confusing that way. Anko landed on the branch that the rope was anchored to and peered down at her student with a sadistic smile. Hey kid, what's up? Or I guess what's down in your position? Naruto looked back up at her with a deadpan glare. That joke was bad and you should feel bad. Anko's kunai slipped out of her trench coat pocket and landed on the knot that was holding the rope in place, severing it. Naruto fell to the ground rapidly and brought his arms up to brace himself to avoid crushing his head under his body weight. Welp. Now it looked like Naruto's body ached even more. He managed to bring himself up to glare at her smiling visage. Oops. I guess that my kunai fell out. Anko said, trying to provoke him. Naruto stopped glaring at her and laid back onto the ground to look at the canopy with a contemplative look on his face. Yeah, I guess that it did. You should probably secure your kunai more effectively. Naruto said flatly. Anko frowned. From her limited interaction with the blonde, he always seemed eager to learn. Now he had the countenance of a person who had given up. After grabbing the kunai that hit the trunk, she chakra hopped off the tree to look down onto his prone form. You okay, kid? Naruto took a while to answer. Have you ever been confused? I don't mean like confused about a problem in math, I mean like thoroughly confused about a lot of stuff in your life and you don't know how to talk to other people about it. She smirked down at him. I'm fairly certain that you just described puberty. What happened? Cream your bed. Find a ball hair. Crack your voice. She said playfully. Naruto lethargically waved her off. Nah. Iruka-sensei already told me about all that stuff. I mean, so many things are happening to me right now. I'm confused and don't know who to talk to about it. Anko's eyes lost their luster. She decided that the gauntlet could wait for the moment and laid down next to him, peering up at the canopy as well. I'm sure that you know about my past, right? Nope. Naruto answered flatly. Your friend Kurenai mentioned something about a guy named Orochimaru, but I didn't look into it. Why not? Anko questioned. Because I'm not a nosy piece of shit. Anko got a laugh out of that. Kid, you're going to learn really quick that if you want to succeed in being a shinobi, you're going to have to do things that other people don't like. Like peering into their personal life and judging them for it. Anko took a bit to answer. You should always know your friends like you know your enemies. Their weaknesses, their strengths, their hobbies, their likes and dislikes, those sorts of things. Why? So if they ever betray you, you can use those things against them. Anko said evenly. Naruto tore his eyes away from the canopy to give Anko a queer look. So I shouldn't trust my friends. You shouldn't trust people. Because no matter who they are, people let other people down. That's pessimistic. Naruto stated. She smirked. Do you even know what that word means? Naruto huffed indignantly. I know how to use it right. So what were you going to say? Anko was silent for a long time. If you don't know about my past then I'll fill you in. When I was a genin, my sensei was a guy named Orochimaru. He was a great shinobi, and even eventually obtained the title of one of the 3 great ninjas of Konoha. Anko's tone turned into one of admiration. You don't understand what he was like to me. I was an orphan and he was the only person that I knew that looked at me with any sort of levity. He trained me. He trained me well. I eventually became the best of my class and was a shoo-in for promotion. Anko's voice went sour. Then at some point, he told me about this training trip. I, being the stupid kid I was, agreed to go on it immediately. Naruto glanced at her with some sympathy. It wasn't a training trip, was it? She laughed darkly. Not by a long shot, kid. He took me out to this really secret place, and experimented on me. Naruto's eyes went wide with concern. What? She growled. Turns out that he was just a sick who enjoyed experimenting on people to make leaps forward as human beings. It wasn't a leap forward for me. That snake bastard put this weird sealing array on the nape of my neck. They call it the curse seal. It hurt like a. Whenever I try to use it, I get so strong. Stronger than I've ever been. But there's a catch. It makes me act like someone I'm not. Someone that I hate. She shook her head as if trying to rid her mind of those thoughts. Anyways, when the Anbu that were sent to kill him found me, they sent me back home. The people were scared of me. You don't know how he operates. He gets into people's heads and makes them do stuff that they would never ever do otherwise. He's charismatic like that, so the people were afraid of me and what I might do, what I'd never consciously do. It was a confusing time for me. I didn't have any friends anymore. I didn't have anybody that I could trust. I only had myself and my thoughts. That sounds horrible. She laughed humorously once again. Yup, it was kid. But you know what I did to stay sane? What? I found somebody that I could trust. Then I talked to her about it, and she listened to me. And then, I didn't feel so confused anymore. People are kind of like that. They help to give perspective. Didn't you just tell me not to trust other people? I said to hold them at an arm's length away. Naruto's eyes lit up with a renewed vigor. Yeah, you're right. I just need to find someone that I can talk to. That's it. Enko jumped up enthusiastically. That's the spirit, kid. Now get up. We're going to do some training. Naruto jumped up with her. Yeah. Oh. Meanwhile, Naruto's clone looked up from his map to the shop that he was standing in front of with unimpressed eyes. It was a dinky little thing, but it spoke of a pleasantness that could only be had from a family-owned store. Naruto walked inside to find the cashier stand empty. Hello. Naruto called out. He dimly heard a slight rustling of cloth from the back before a teenager stepped into view. He seemed normal for the most part. Black hair that was flat on top and split multiple ways down the back, slightly hunched back, but his most distinguishing characteristics were his eyes. They were sour and grim, like dead fish eyes. The teen looked at Naruto appraising ly. You here for clothing alterations? Naruto looked at the teen in confusion before replying, no. I'm the new owner. The teen's eyes widened fractionally. What? Look, kid, I don't have any time for games. No, I'm the owner. Really? I just bought this place for $2,000. Well, this might be bad. Naruto had only bought the property on a piece of paper in a binder. This kid might not know and Naruto wouldn't be able to buy it. But, you're a shinobi, aren't you? An adult by society's perspective. Uzumaki Naruto, I presume. Naruto mentally sighed in relief. Yeah. I just came by to check up on the business. Well, my name's Hachiman Hikigaya. My dad just died and I'm not old enough to own a business, so this place went on sale. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Hachiman waved him off. Don't be. He was a dick. You own any other businesses? Naruto shook his head. Hachiman sighed in annoyance. So this is how it's going to work. After all the expenses are paid, the new materials, my wage, any unforeseen accidents or failures, you get the profit. Although that only amounts up to about $50 a day, it's your choice what you want to do with that money. You could put in your bank account, put it towards the store for renovations, or just, whatever floats your boat. I don't really care. Is that it? Isn't it more intensive than that? Being the owner and all. Hachiman shook his head. Nope. My dad taught me how to finance the store and all before he kicked the bucket. So seeing as I'm the only employee, I'll be taking the role as manager. It'll be tough though, filling out orders that two people used to. So I'm probably going to hire someone as well. I could help. Naruto immediately offered. Hachiman looked at him with a confuddled expression. What? Do you even know how to sew, or do alterations, or to make custom clothes? Naruto shook his head to all accounts. Nope. But I'm a fast learner. Plus I've been meaning to take up sewing. But, you're a shinobi. Don't you have other things that are supposed to take precedence? Yeah, but I'm not really here right now, the original anyways. I'm a clone. Everything that I learn goes back to the original when I dispel. Pretty cool, huh? Naruto said with his foxy grin. Hachiman backed away out of surprise. You shinobi are so weird. Anyways, if I'm going to teach you how to sew, you're going to have to pay me in the store some extra money. If I'm teaching you, I can't be filling out orders. There are also things like the materials that you're going to waste if I teach you. You fine with that? Naruto nodded. He could get the money back when he was sufficiently trained in the tailor arts. Hachiman leaned away from Naruto and cracked his vertebrae. When he was done stretching out, he said, we might as well get started then. Gained Hachiman Hikigaya as a teacher. Oh 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 oh. 6 o'clock. Naruto was walking back home whilst trying to heal himself through use of the mystic palm technique. He couldn't do things like stitch cuts together yet, but he could at the very least deaden pain and aches, something that he was doing a lot as of late. Anko was a slave driver when it came to traps. She forced him to run through the forest of death at high speeds while identifying and getting out of the way of traps. When that didn't happen often though, as she chased him in, over, and around the tree line, it was hard to not only identify cleverly concealed traps, but to also get out of the way in time to not get stuck in it. Even through her unorthodox training methods, he managed to run through the gauntlet of traps up until she called it quits. By that time though, he had at least gotten to the point where he could identify and get past half the traps that he almost ran into. So there was that at least. He was also the victim of a pounding headache, the source of which was probably rooted in the use of far too many shadow clones. Although he was making good progress on cooking actual ramen and sewing the various stitches of clothing. Luckily he was also able to deaden the pain of a headache using medical ninjutsu. Medical ninjutsu is just so awesome. Random encounter. Help Mr. Higurashi carry his ingots to his forge. Rewards. Increased influence with Mr. Higurashi, forging +10. Naruto stared at the pop-up with more than a little ire. What's an ingot? There was a sound of labored grunting directly towards on Naruto's side. Looking over, he saw a large and imposing man weighed down by load that was obviously too large for him to carry. Naruto walked up to him and asked, "Do you need help with that?" The heavily perspiring man barely moved his head to acknowledge Naruto's presence. "You wouldn't be able to help," he said gruffly. Naruto's eyes slanted in annoyance. Why does everyone think that I can't help? The load that the man was carrying was spread across multiple bags that were bulging outwards at strange angles. "Oh come on. I'm stronger than I look," Naruto said persuasively. Higurashi's eyes flickered to Naruto's form. "Okay," he said simply, before offloading a bag onto Naruto. "Oh. That bag hit him like a ton of rocks hits the ground after being dropped from a freight train. Needless to say, it didn't feel good. What's grunts in here? Grunts shit in bricks." Relieved slightly of his load, the man was capable of slightly better motor control and thusly capable of giving Naruto more than a glance. Iron. So you're a forger. Made sense considering that Naruto got a boost in forging from him. Forger. Doesn't exist. I'm a blacksmith, Higurashi said before moving forwards, expecting Naruto to follow. Getting a good grip on the bag, Naruto ambled forward. "Why don't you use a wheelbarrow, grunts, or something?" "I did have a wheelbarrow. It broke." Higurashi seemed to speak in clipped, impersonal phrases, giving the air of a very pragmatic man. "How did you manage that?" Naruto's incessant questioning of Higurashi seemed to draw his ire, but he humored Naruto nonetheless. "The load was too heavy. Why did you have to take it all in one trip? I thought it could fit." But it couldn't. The hulking man refused to answer. Time passed a while for them both. Hefting the large bags full of iron was rather hard work after all. Soon, however, Higurashi initiated conversation. "You a ninja?" "Yeah. Just graduated this year. Do you know my daughter? Her name's Tenten. She graduated a year ahead of you. Her name does sound familiar, but I can't place it." He grunted in affirmation. "She used to help me out around the forge, but now that she's a ninja, she doesn't have the time." "I could help you out," Naruto offered immediately. He looked at Naruto with the same derision that Hachiman seemed to employ. "Do you smith?" "No, but I'm a fast learner." Higurashi seemed to consider it before replying. "I can't use someone who doesn't know what a forge is." "Then teach me." This was good. If Naruto could get this guy to teach him how to forge, then he could make all sorts of cool ninja stuff. It costs time to teach. Time is worth a lot of money in the blacksmithing industry. How much does it cost to learn? Higurashi stayed quiet for a while so he could do the math in his head. "About $50 an hour." "Cool. When should I come by?" "You have that spending money." Naruto grinned as wide as he could while he was under the weight of the bag of ingots. "What do you think I am? I'm a ninja. I get paid good." "Wrong. You get paid well." Tomato. He grumbled a little bit before replying. "Come by my forge in the mornings." Gained Mr. Higurashi as a teacher. Naruto deadpanned. That's cool and all, but where is it? He pointed to a shop that they were approaching. The sign read, Higurashi Weapon Emporium. Oh 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 oh. Meanwhile, I take it you've had a pleasant trip so far. The aging Hokage asked the man situated directly in front of him. Where's everyone else? He asked bluntly. He was a rather nondescript man. Rusty red hair and a black ninja suit with a canister of an unknown nature strapped to his waist. This man was the fourth Cage. The older man sighed and started shuffling his notes to get them straightened out. Onoki arrived here yesterday. I is due to arrive here tomorrow, and I've gotten no word from either the rebel leader of the Kakei Genkei faction, nor the actual Mizukage himself. The man seemed satisfied with the answer given. So tell me about this grand experiment that you've planned out.